I just remembered that.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is Adara, and I am Sharif. And we're going to wait for everyone to find their way on over from the other stream. We already have the OG Darwin gracing us with his presence, as well as Dr. Fez, a proper paradox, joining us as well. Shout out to you, Mateus Lane. And Charles Moe. We got Cairo. I haven't seen Cairo in a hot minute in the chat. Jeremy Newman as well. The beautiful Gate and Vic Yan Novak, SOS. And what day would it be without Big Asian? We got him in the house as well. Enjoy fun with Josie coming in as well. D-Loaf. Haven't seen you in a hot minute, D-Loaf. Shout out. Welcome back. Mary L. Glenn Smith. Juan Alejandro Castillo, as well as Ronaldo. We got Robert Isaac. We got Jimmy J. We got Nick V. We got Nas B. I love all these names with the little letters there. Justin E. Cass M. New Mexico Misfit, as well as Jammer TJ Lee. Shout out to the OGJ. We got Brian Rubin and Daryl Finch. Ichiban Hedger as well. Love that. Damn. The Skips 8, as well as Juan Blanco. Dude 5, as well as Stocka, Blue Arrow, Mo, Aaron Smith, Apple Fritter, Neil's favorite. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Welcome. Thank you for joining Adara and I. Good morning, Adara.
Good morning, Sharif. How are you today?
Not too bad. Can't complain. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. We already took a bit of an L here in this visa, but I want to talk about this because I'm happy with the execution of this trade. So if you've seen this show, you might know I have a bit of an affinity for spready tickers that are not cheap. Visa, you got both those, right? So I was looking for Visa for a while. I love this double bottom. Showed it to reversal patterns this week and last week as well. Look at this double bottom, right? We push up higher. I had a dip buy sitting here waiting for VWAP. I already had my stop set as well. I was like, you know what, we'll see what happens. And I got this happened probably around like 10:50. So whatever. So I come to my desk, I get filled nice. But right before we flip over, my stop gets hit. So I was risking 50 cents here, 277.50. I liked that as the potential idea. My whole thesis, right, was if we can bounce off that previous resistance, then we're bullish. If we can't, then we can't, right? Then we're not. But we'll wait and see what happens here. I don't have any other trades in Visa right now. I did get long as well, EWIM, for pretty similar reasons to the long for in Visa. And by that, I mean coming here, bouncing off these levels. Now, to be clear, that topping tail candle, 270, not the, or sorry, 220.70, not the vibe. So that's where I was going to be taking out some profit. Alas, though, we got stopped out of that one too. Where's the next trade? They do say. And again, with that in mind, I also want to shout out Obi. Thank you so much for covering for me yesterday. We're here. We're back. Taking less L's, making more M's. What M's are you looking to make over here?
I'm looking at Google. The market nicely retracing off that early morning sell-off there. We started out in positive territory. We are getting back into positive territory on the NQ, just getting green now, zigging and zagging. But Google looks to me like to be the strongest of the bunch, retracing well off the lows. Have a look, Katina, man. It is well green, up half a point, and it's now knocking on the door of those IB highs. Where are those IB highs? 163.09. We are breaking through the $quarter level right now, 162.75. So good recovery for goggles here. You can kind of see the umbrella hockey stick pattern on a lot of these Mag 7 names. Down, a little bit of a consolidation, maybe even a V-shaped retracement, and coming into some key levels. You've got the likes of Microsoft coming into VWAP, Apple at VWAP, Amazon retracing into VWAP, likewise with Tesla. Google, we already said was strong. The market as well, touching the volume weighted average price as well as that closing print from yesterday. It really seems though like Nvidia is the weakest of the bunch, and shout out to the OG Darwin there in the chat. I saw what you wrote, Darwin. Thank you for that. I didn't actually have eyes on that. Looks like Jensen was selling again, so we'll keep tabs on that. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang sold $713 million of stock. He's done for now, says Barron's. Shout out to Darwin for that. Did not know that. So we'll keep tabs on what the Jensen one is doing, at least for the time being. So that is a look at the market. I've got a whole bunch of small cap gappers that we will get to in short order. But before that, we will start the lesson du jour. And I got to say, Katina, man, I kind of whiffled and waffled on the name of the lesson. It's kind of very easy. Variations from the ideal patterns. And that's what we're talking about. Nary do we get the pattern manifest in real life as it shows up in the textbook. I mean, you might get lucky, it might happen to you every now and again, but most of the time, these patterns are a little bit skewed, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So by the end of the lesson, we hope to understand the concept of variations from the ideal chart patterns, recognizing some of these common variations like the double tops and bottoms, and applying this to real life trading scenarios. So this lesson will also explore the practical applications of how to include these non-textbook like patterns in your everyday trading portfolio. So let's get right to it, baby. Let's introduce these. We've been doing reversal patterns all week and last week as well. So the patterns that we talk about today are all going to be of that ilk. They will all be reversal patterns. So let's just cover what they are super quick. Major reversal patterns such as double tops, double bottoms, your head and shoulders, your rounded bottoms, your saucer patterns, whatever you want to call it. They are signs of potential changes in the prevailing trend. That's what they signal to us in the market. Traditionally, though, these patterns follow well-defined structures, but in real world markets, these ideal patterns rarely exist, and they're always a bit, skewed from what you see in the textbook. So traders often encounter these variations that deviate slightly from the textbook picture, but these actual patterns still hold significant predictive power, even if they don't look like the textbook. So let's get right to it. So variations from these ideal patterns, let's talk about some key concepts before we actually show you what we mean. So variations from the ideal patterns as a statement, as a phrase, essentially refers to instances where reversal patterns do not match the textbook examples, but still fulfill the underlying principles of reversal behavior. So even though they don't look like what you saw in the book, they are still valid. John J. Murphy goes on to explain in his book, off which this lesson is based, how traders can still benefit from these variations by focusing on the core attributes of the pattern rather than strict adherence to structure. So let's get right to it. The double top and double bottom. This is the first one we're going to talk about as a variation from the ideal. So these patterns often vary in height of the two peaks for the double top, or the height, or the not the height, but the the descent, how low the troughs go for double bottoms. One peak or trough may be slightly higher or slightly lower than its counterpart. Additionally, the neckline in the double bottom from where we get in for conservative traders, this also may not be horizontal, but rather it may be inclined or declined. And here's kind of what I'm talking about. So, this is not going to show you the decline and the incline, but this is going to show you the difference in the peaks. So on one side, you can have the left peak of the double top a little bit higher than its counterpart, and then these are the even ones, obviously, and then this is a bit of a different one with the left side a little bit lower than the right side. Same business, no difference for the double bottom. Again, going back to our lesson on double tops and bottoms, really the only difference is the formation time. Double tops seem to reverse a lot quicker than double bottoms do. Double bottoms take longer periods to form. Why that is, not really important for our purposes, but it's just a statistical fact. So this is what we're looking at here in terms of double tops and, double bottoms, You've got the left trough a little bit lower than the right. Here they're equidistant, and this one, the right trough, a little bit lower than the left. It's not the only type of pattern, though, that varies from the textbook standard. Heads and shoulders, for sure this one varies. So for this pattern, the variations often occur in the size and the formation of the shoulders, not necessarily the head, but the shoulders. In some cases, the shoulders may appear uneven, with one being significantly lower or higher than the other. The neckline, very important for head and shoulders, very important for double tops as well. The neckline, though, may also be sloped, affecting the timing of the breakout, because if you refer back to our lesson on heads and shoulders, the neckline is where you're taking the trade. So if it's sloped, declined, or inclined, your breakout point may be higher or lower than if it was just completely horizontal, okay? And volume, traders should wait, traders should wait for a close below the neckline to avoid those false breakouts. And here's kind of what we're looking at with respect to the neckline. You'll see over here the trough of the right shoulder a skosh higher than the trough of the left shoulder. So your breakout point is going to be a little bit higher than it would have been if they were equidistant. Likewise over here, this is kind of the horizontal neckline. This one, you have a decline, and that's kind of what they look like IRL. So here are the textbook versions, and here's what they actually manifest into when you extract them off a chart, right? They're never gonna be super clean. Like, look how this left shoulder, well lower than the right shoulder, also much less developed. Look at the arch of the left shoulder. It's almost like a V rather than the right shoulder over here, which is quite rounding. You actually had a bit of a consolidation area on the top. Look at this one over here. Look at the left shoulder. It took almost, I don't know how many trading days, 20, 30 trading days to develop that left shoulder. Then look at the right shoulder. We basically went up and down in one candle. So you're never going to see them. Well, I shouldn't say never. You will see them less, manifesting in these perfectly shaped textbook patterns, and you're going to see them more in these type of real life IRL in the wild type patterns, but they do hold the same predictive power. So it's incumbent upon you to actually scour these charts and be able to see them in real life. And here is again another example of the head and shoulders, where the left shoulder markedly lower than the right shoulder, also markedly shorter in duration than the right shoulder, but equally as valid. Let's go on to the rounded bottom. My favorite pattern. Variations of this pattern typically involve the symmetry of the curve. I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. Essentially what I'm talking about is you may not get that clean rounded bottom. There may be zigs and zags. In some cases, the rounding bottom may not be smooth. It can appear more irregular with different levels of volatility as the price moves towards that breakout level. Volume as well in the rounded bottom may be inconsistent, which actually ends up complicating the identification of the ideal breakout. And here's kind of what I'm talking about there. Sure, you're seeing eventually higher lows and higher highs. Absolutely, and this one you were seeing lower lows. But without really putting that yellow curved line in there, it might be a little bit hard to identify that this was actually a rounded bottom. Right? It kind of maybe even looks like an area of consolidation where you have multiple peaks and troughs of the same level. So it could look like, just a low consolidation pattern. Kind of hard to see unless you really dive deep and look to the higher lows and higher highs. So the rounded bottom, not always as clean as maybe the name makes it look like. So how do we handle these variations in reversal patterns? Let's talk about some filters and confirmation that we can use. So traders should apply filters to confirm whether the variation of the pattern holds that predictive value that we're using it for. So volume analysis, number one in terms of filters. Volume often declines as the pattern nears completion, but it's followed by a sharp increase once the breakout or breakdown occurs. So you have declining volume as we get to that area of support or resistance. But once you break out or break down below that area of support or resistance, you should have an increase in volume. For example, a double top with a slight variation in the peak might still hold if the volume behaves accordingly, which is rising sharply after the second peak. You should also employ trend lines where appropriate and support levels. So trend lines can serve as useful tools for confirming variations. If the price breaks a support level after the formation of an imperfect double top, for example, it often signals that the reversal is still valid. Let's talk about some of the psychological factors that influence the change in shape of some of these patterns. So John J. Murphy stresses that minor variations in the pattern appearance do not change the underlying psychology. The market's behavior, which is influenced by supply and demand, fear and greed, is what dictate whether a pattern will succeed or not its perfect shaping. So a double top that slightly deviates from the ideal form still reflects buyer exhaustion and a potential seller dominance in the ensuing days if supported by the price action and volume confirmation. So what John J. Murphy is trying to say here is that despite the skewed shape, despite the non-textbook form or form factor, I should say, it's still giving you what you need in terms of understanding why the market is showing up like that. It's basically just manifesting the supply and demand and the fear and greed a little bit differently than the textbook would have you think. Now let's talk about some practical application trading strategies for this. First and foremost, you want to wait for that confirmation. Because the shape is not so perfectly designed, you really need to cross your T's and dot your I's. So when a pattern shows variations, patience is key. Avoid entering trades solely based on a partial or imperfect pattern. Wait for the confirmation, such as a break of the key support or resistance level, and increase volume. Always increase volume. Use of stop losses as well, super important, given the potential for false signals in the patterns that do not conform to the ideal. Traders should place stop loss orders at logical points. So why do I say logical points rather than giving you a key area to get out or to get in? Because the shape is skewed. So if we were to say, okay, your stop is above the right side of the double top. Well, that right side of the double top is, say, a couple of bucks below the left side of the double top because it's skewed. So you really need to think about where your stop placement goes when the pattern varies from the ideal, because it's not going to be so cut and dry. Last but not least here, the target move, or measuring the target move. Even in variations, the measuring technique remains consistent. Remember, like the top from the head to the neckline of the head and shoulders, from the area crest of the double top to the neckline break, you're projecting that down or up. Simple. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about the measuring target move. So even in variations, the measuring technique remains consistent for a double top. Measure the distance between the peak and the trough, then project the distance downward from the breakout point to determine the potential profit target. We've already talked about that ad nauseum. I'm not going to go into that again. So here's the procedure. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Identify that the pattern is close to completing, but is not ideal. That's your first look, okay? Wait for the price to break below the support level formed by that trough. If you're talking about a double bottom or a double top, for example. Then you're looking for the confirmation through an increase in volume after the breakout. Enter a short position if it's a double top, for example, once all the confirmations are in place, targeting the measured move from the peak to the trough while placing a stop loss just above the peak. And now what I'm talking about, obviously, is that double top. And just to conclude, guys, what we should really be taking from this is variations in the ideal patterns are common. And in fact, they're probably more common than these textbook patterns actually appearing IRL. And understanding that not all patterns will conform perfectly to the textbook examples is essential for a successful trader, because if you're waiting for that pattern to manifest as it shows in the book, you're going to be waiting a long time, baby. By applying filters, confirming the pattern with volume and trend lines, and waiting for those clear signals, traders can certainly capitalize on these variations. And I would suggest to you that mastery of the skills allows you to adapt to real world markets where these ideal patterns, rarely occur. Oh, Daryl.
Yeah, thank you, Sharif, for going over that lesson and for preparing for it for us. And yeah, I think this one is really key. I was saying this to you off camera as well. It's such a different one because it is, like, honestly, you're way less likely to find a beautiful head and shoulders, and that's part of what, you know, trading is. You have to figure out, you have to discern, hey, like, is this pattern close enough? Is this going to make sense? Am I, you know, going to be able to work with that? So I think that's really key here as well. My read on this market today has been, okay, I don't even want to say it's been bad, because there are two trades that I got stopped out of immediately that honestly would have worked. This PDD short is not one of them. This thing, I liked that bearish engulfing candle. The book was looking bearish for a time being. Got short, didn't work out. All good there, baby. But man, I have words for IWM. And when I show you guys this chart, you'll see what I mean. So, like, oh my lord, oh my gosh. So again, long IWM, 220.45s, decent size, risking it pretty tight here into 220.30s. We get stopped out pretty much immediately, and then this thing goes up almost a whole point. So not super proud of that. You can have the idea right, but maybe I should have been giving it more room to run. Things to reflect on. Coinbase, almost the same thing. With Coin too, a bit of my issue as well is, and I'm still working on this, the way I set my stop, I lost way more here than I was looking to lose. So COIN, I liked the long, bouncing off the 9 EMA, and then kind of having a little bit of a 166. I was trying to get out here 166.25. That's where I stopped. Didn't get filled till 166. We bounced off 166. So you know what? You got to stay positive even when the market is like, no. And then Visa as well. So Visa, I tried the long. I told you guys this. Then I tried the short. I did not like this short because every time I was like feeling good about it, the book would give me something kind of spicy. So I got out, clearly I got out too early. Now this short's working. If we reject off to 77.30s, I'll take a really small position and I'll risk it into a bit of that area here of 80s. Rogelio wants to know my thoughts on the Cybertruck. Oh, okay. It's not a pushback moment yet, but TSLA is doing something here. So I liked, I don't want to say double top, but certainly a bit of a double rejection area here at this 253.20s. However, get this topping tail candle here, and we get a bit of a bottoming tail candle. So we've touched now this 253s twice on a week basis. I'd like to see if we get below 253. At that point, I'll have more of an idea of what we're going to do. Because if we bounce off 253, I honestly think it could be a long here. I think Tesla's trying to discern what it would like to do when it grows up, what it would like to be with its life. Also, I want to talk here about a super chat we got. Thank you to JKL for the $5 super chat. For the love of Pete and maple syrup, somebody look at RR. I don't want to show it to Sharif because I know Sharif has talked a lot about these robotics names. Now, Starbucks could definitely benefit from robotics. We know Brian Nickel is a bit of a robotics fan. In fact, right after he left CMG, we had all of that stuff with CMG and the robots. So RR, nice look here on the intraday chart to this bottom in the this is in the pre-market at 71 cents, pushing higher highs, higher lows, bit of a VWAP bounce. And let's take a look at the daily chart as well. Yeah, daily, okay. Daily chart, double top here at at $1.70, but maybe a higher low here. Let's see how things resolve it for RR. But I think this tree looks a lot richer if we can close on the daily above 170. How are you doing in Softy?
We're doing well. We're about 40 pennies in the money. I'm looking at wet my beak at 77s, got short 30, covered at 29. So we took 30 pennies quick as you like. But now I'm waiting for this area consolidation over here, and it didn't spend too much time. I am worried about it finding support generally at 429 owing to this area crest. Here we go with the 80s. We're printing mid 80s now. I'm waiting at 77s. So we get that print, I'll be happy. We'll see. So 86 now showing up on the bid, 89 on the ask. A 3 penny spread ain't that bad for Softy. And there it is, baby. We take the win right there super quick. Thank you for that, Adair. Thank you for that, Katina, man. We're going to watch this one and see what it does. Don't want to let Microsoft off the hook. Why I entered here, super simple. Topping tail candle through the volume weighted average price. This was a look. I got off the lesson. I'm like, what is Softy doing? It's at VWAP. All right, what's the candle showing me? 2 topping tail candles. Felt that sellers were at least, for the moment over here, pushing this down a little bit. So I was like, all right, let's get in. Better here than never. Where my stop placement was the top of this candle. I did put it at 88, so I was risking a little bit there, getting in at 30s, 58 pennies. So there's the first one on Softy. Softy is down the most of the Mag 7 names, followed by Amazon. 1% for Microsoft, 4/5 in the red for Amazon, followed by the Zuck train down a quarter point. But the Zuck train printed all-time dang highs yesterday. The thing is a rocket ship. It's going to $600. That's what it feels like. This thing was $88 in October of 2022.
That's wild.
I still can't believe that. Yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. The market really did not like it at that. But Microsoft seems to be the weakest of the bunch. Apple's doing the exact same thing. Let's put some, this is doing the exact same thing. Well, I don't want to call it a triple top because we did a lesson on triple tops yesterday, and this is definitely not it. But you have 3 candle rejection at 227.5, a little bit higher than the volume weighted average price, but essentially does the same thing. You're getting that rounded top at the $0.50. And now we're knocking the door of the whole dollar. Do we break 227? Apple's been negative. It did get a decent bounce up there midday or like at 1040, whatever. We'll see if it can keep its legs under it, or it's going to continue to sell off. So AAPL, interesting look here. They're all kind of doing the same thing, except for one bad boy, and that is NVD dang A. What a recovery here. This thing's got no brakes. Look at this thing go, bro. We're not that far off the high of day, 40 pennies or so, 117 and a quarter, 117 and a third. The high of the day is a little bit below that two-thirds of a dollar. You have the closing prints, though. Forget about these wicks. The closing prints are all at a $0.50. So we're 25 pennies away from essentially the high of the close there, the closing print high, I should say. So good recovery right now for NVDA. Seems like it's certainly the strongest of the bunch, Adair.
Yeah, speaking of May 7th, I want to shout out your Microsoft trade. I was just staring at Tesla because I was trying to short Tesla 250, 365s. And that is because I said, I think it was Rogelio in the chat was asking my thoughts on that Cybertruck beep beep. And I said, I want to see what it does at 253s. It bounced at 253s. However, now Tesla gets a pushback. We could not, and I repeat, could not eclipse 253.70s. I watched this push lower in the book. I tried to get short. Tesla was like, yeah, cool, Adara. I don't care. And I was like, fine, Tesla, live your life. However, you know what I'm also seeing, and I want to shout out, this actually, I think, is in the wild example of our lesson of the day. To me, Tesla looks like kind of a sloppy inverse head and shoulders. Look at this head at 250. We have a little bit of a shoulder at 250, 275, another one at 250, 275. However, we are up on the day. Inverse head and shoulder does work a little bit more if you're down in the day. So I want to keep that in mind. But honestly, if we can push above 70s here, I'm absolutely going long on inverse K into 20. So I'll take a small position to start. I'll add if we break above into 254s. K, this is where we're going to have to strike here. Do I strike? Do we break into 70s? Come on, Tesla. No one can tell me, but okay, there we go. Tesla's decided it does want to break into 70s. Also decided probably doesn't care about me. That's fine. Okay, perfect. So we got part fulfilled. There we go. So we're going to burst this into 250. We'll do 253.21s because I might have a bit of an affinity for that number. I wonder if you can guess why. Good look. IWM also printing long here. So EOM, definitely did not want to get involved in this one on a whim. I got involved when we had that that VWAP bounce here. If we stay nice here above that into that 221.10s, I might add a bit. Happy with this position and also happy to thank our sponsors at Benzinga.
Are you tired of being late to the trade? Are you always playing catch up in the market? Are you missing out on the big moves because you're just too slow to the news? If so, Benzinga Pro is your unfair advantage. Get those breaking news alerts up to 30 minutes before everyone else and pinpoint exactly why stocks are moving. And yes, join a thriving community of traders who share their strategies in real time. Are you ready to see how Benzinga Pro can transform your trading? If so, visit benzinga.com/pro and get yourself that free 14-day trial. Shout out to the good folks there at Benzinga. All right, let's have a look at the small cap gappers du jour, Ram, because we haven't said anything about those, and that's not good. So shout out to her. All right, look, the number one name on my scanner is MSS, but as you can see, what MSS is doing. It has another, okay, whatever. I'm not going to say that stupid joke. BNZI, number 2 gap scanner on my list. This one a little bit better, but also south of the volume weighted average price. It is, though, finding some support, at least it seems, near that pre-market high. That pre-market high takes us to about 750, and you've got a bunch of bottoming tail candles right now bouncing off 750. So I like the look. I'm going to keep it on the side chart, but I won't take it as a long breakout trade until it finds itself above this white horizontal line over here, which is the volume weighted average price. I will not take a small cap gapper as a breakout trade south of VWAP. Keep that on. We're going to keep it on watch because it looks awfully good. WVE setting up like a beauty. This is beautiful. You've got pre-market highs off which to base your entry. It's trading above VWAP. It's very, I don't want to say it's stable because it'll make me look silly in a hot second, but it looks more stable than some of these small cap gappers typically look. Let me give you the details. It's up 41%. Not really a small cap gapper. It's knocked on the door of $1 billion market cap, $940 million market cap with 7.7 million shares traded today, and the float a little bit larger as well, about 102,000 shares. Let's find out if that short float is going to give us something to work with here, baby. WVE. Let's shout out Trade Ideas and the NOS boss and his crew over there. 3.42%. Also showed note that they're saying the float is 98 million as opposed to 102. Potato when it comes to that. I like this anywhere off the volume weighted average price, right? And you're really gonna, I hate to say put your stop on, the south side of VWAP because these are bamboozlers in chief. They can definitely wick you in and wick you out, but it's just been so respectful of VWAP, whether before the pre-market, during the opening, in the pre-market, during the opening range break, or now during the midday. It's been very respectful of VWAP. So if that's going to be the case, I want to base something off it, and I don't want to give it that much room. So WVE looking like the best of the bunch here. And let's also put some respect on AAOI's name because it's awfully directional as well. This one hasn't even made it down to VWAP. The love affair here is with the 10 exponential moving average on the 5. That is that green line depicted on my chart. Every single retracement, guys, into that, well, with the latest one being at 1030 to 1045, bounced off. So let's see, we're awfully close to it right now, printing 16 and 2/3 of 10 exponentials at 1655. Does it hold? Good look for AAOI. I'll give you the details on this one super quick before we throw it back to Adara. And this one is a $711 million market cap, so a bit larger as well. A bit less shares traded today, 3.15 million as opposed to WVE. And the float, 36 and 2/3 million shares. And let's find out what the short float is. This one's a good one. Okay, 28.86%. Not a bad look for AAOI. Now it's going to behoove us to do some charting on a wider time frame so we can kind of gauge where these shorts are. Well, guys, we're not that far away from these recent highs, okay? So December 23 till March of this year was kind of like the peak area of this name. So you got to assume the shorts are likely somewhere around 18, 19 to about 23, in and around here. So if we can weasel up 19, 18, something like that, we could squeeze some shorts out. Keep in mind that this 28 some odd percent is subsequent to this area having developed, right? So we've been down here. You got to assume the people that were short down here have already been squeezed out. Who's left? Well, it's the people up here. So this one looking real good, man. You can leave this one on the side chart. Maybe it has like a second day play tomorrow. It's been very directional essentially since August onwards. Since August, the mid-August, it's up 150%. So not a bad look. AAOI staying on the side chart.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I need to clean my side charts or what. Yeah, this is, we're still trying to find opportunities here. The Tesla long, I like the bull flag. I actually added on that bull flag. Then I ended up getting stopped out. I moved my stop at that point. I think I was trying to risk the same amount. IWM. Once again, Adara, what's going on here? So I added, when we got kind of above that 221.10 area, maybe I shouldn't have. I moved my stop accordingly. And to be fair, I will admit, I want to say, I don't like what I did here. I realized, because I don't like to look at P&L. I did in this case just because I knew we had, like I said, Coinbase, where my stop was triggered, I lost way more than I wanted to. So I knew that the risk that was happening was like maybe not to 5. And so then I moved my stop here to 220.85, which is VWAP. I should have, according to my risk management principles and what I was trying to do, I should have given it another 10 cents. But I didn't because I was like, oh no, Adara, blah. Calm down. Yeah. So moral of the story, I should not have done that. I should have stuck to my principles regardless. I'm really disappointed in myself for that because that is just honestly sloppy on my part. But you got to stay positive. Am I positive in the day? Not at all. But my mindset always is. So you got to keep going. If we see this hold here at 221, I might go long 221, risk it to 220.85. But honestly, there's definitely less risk today than I would like there to be as of right now. And I want to say, I think one of my issues, I keep talking about how excited I have to have stop orders. That's great. But Adara, for the type of triggers you trade, that's maybe not the vibe. I like trading spready names. Spready names are not going to necessarily trigger you where you want to. Coinbase, Visa, both those trades, I lost more than I intended on losing because of where my stop triggered. So I think that's something for me to note. Like an IWM, sometimes even a Tesla, whatever, that's fine. But I need to be really cognizant and working on my style when it comes to these stops because that is, I'm disappointed, I'm not going to lie. But you know what is not disappointing? Is voting. Because if you vote, guys, you know what you get to see? You get to see Sharif.
Gesticulate wildly.
Gesticulate wildly. On a screen that is green. Also, I love that. You should one day. But anyway, so guys, make sure you like and subscribe because if you subscribe, you can vote for the segment that is brought to you by Real Trading. If you want to be confident, if you want to know what the Neelage has to say, and he's going to be dropping some Neelage soon. Oh, yeah. So his hotline dropper, hotline bling over there, because that can only mean one thing. That you guys should be voting for your tickers. Okay. We'll pretend that was a cleaner plug that it actually was. But yeah, Visa curling lower here. Like I said, not a lot of opportunities left here in terms of risk, but if I see anything that sets up, I will go for it, throw full throttle, and Tesla break below 253. Not a bad look. at all. How you doing?
What is going on here, man? I'm trying to look for anything out of Nvidia. I'm not getting anything. Taiwan semi-secure $7.5 billion to boost. No, we already knew about that. That's from the CHIPS Act. That's nothing to do. That's obviously good for Nvidia because they're taking all of Taiwan Semi's capacity for these advanced GPUs. That's why AMD can't seem to make them. But okay. This is what DOG Darwin was talking about earlier. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang sold $713 million of stock. He's done for now, according to Barons. But this is the look on Nvidia. And I just looked over the Katina man and I said, what is going on here with Nvidia? And he's like, look, man, it is green. It is on the way up. And that's the look. I mean, I didn't really get much in terms of what we're going to do at this point because it's like on the way up, 18 and a quarter. It's been how many now? Let's call this candle a green candle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 green candles in a row. In the 5 minute, we're at 18 and a quarter. Do we have resistance at 120? Okay, so this has been a nice little consolidation. Yes, there is resistance at 120. Whether you go back to September 12th or September 19th, resistance does exist at 120. We're going to have to see if it holds strictly or does what it did on September 12th. Is that 12th? Yeah, 12th, which is breach 120, weasel up to 120.75, then end up the day closed at 118 or so. It is on the dang way. It keeps printing highs as I speak. This thing is a rocket ship to the high side right now. Wowzers. Single-handedly keeping this market high because you're not getting the move anywhere else. Really, you're not. On the Max 7, maybe some other names, certainly. But it is really Nvidia keeping this market green and at least the NQ up a quarter point. This is the trade that I'm kind of disappointed in myself for not taking. Here it is, double top on Softy, breaking of the neckline, 428.80. It is on the way down here. Microsoft looks like it is just on the way down again. It just breached the 10 exponential. And where does it find support? I'm looking probably 427.5. There does seem to be some candle support in and around there. Is this the area? I'm going to wait possibly for another pop-up. No, it's not going to give you a pop-up. It's just printing lower. Go, Microsoft, go. It's on the way down. Here comes 428.40. Lots of weakness. So you can remember we were talking about variations from the dang ideal pattern. Well, there you go, baby. You got a variation of the ideal pattern. The left side of the double top, a little bit higher, but that neckline, because there's only one trough, remains the same. And that trough was 428.80. I suck for not taking it. I had eyes on it. I didn't pull the trigger because I was unsure what the market pumping because of Nvidia, what the hell Microsoft would do. And that's what it did. It continued to flush. So trust yourself and your analysis. Big move down here nicely on Microsoft. And I love the pattern as it's manifesting on the 5-minute chart, like this rounded top. Apple's doing the same thing, guys. I mean, it's really not just Microsoft. I hate to, emphasize that Microsoft is weak. It is, but there's other names that are doing this exact pattern as well, where you get into VWAP and then you start rounding the top. My only concern is this an inverse umbrella pattern where I get, caught trying to get short RAM, and then it just takes me right back above 430. I'm just worried because the market keeps pumping. Separately here, aside from Microsoft and Apple and the rounded top they're putting in at VWAP, Nvidia I'm not shorting this, obviously, but 184.54 HOD kind of finding a little bit of resistance right now. Where is he? The OB one is not here because I was going to say OB's probably salivating at that reversion trade on Nvidia right now. I'm going to wait for 120. There is prior history of resistance at 120, at least locally. I'm talking about in September. If we weasel up into 120 on Nvidia, I think that's the better trade. I'm going to hold out to there.
Yeah, I love Ramin's comment here. Trust yourself or you'll wreck yourself. I agree. You're right. You have to believe in yourself. I talk about this a lot. Shout out to Darwin, who is coin confidera. I talk about confidence, right? And honestly, very happy to say it. And you know what? Sharif, small victories. First winning trade of the day, TSLA, let's go. I like this trade because, and this is honestly, I would say I take this type of setup enough. It's probably a playbook. This is what I also did with Chewy that day. It flushed, came back. So when you've got a big move down in the market and then it almost immediately recovers up into a point of previous support, that to me is a short. Same with if you have a big old pop, then you come drop, but you don't drop beyond that previous level of interest, you push higher. So I want to explain what I mean here. We had clear support, my Tesla 253.20. I've yapped about this ad nauseum. I loved that level. 253.20. Then we basically push up into that area and then we stop. So I watched the book. I said, Adara, if you don't like the book here, you're not going to take it. But you know what we get? We get a beautiful, clean rejection. So I risked one risk unit, and I want to be clear here as well. If this trade did not work out, I was getting shut down. But I was cool with that because I really felt good about the setup. And I was like, you know what, Adara? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. This shot feels good. You like it. It's a good setup for you. I went short. Initially, I was looking to take profit 250, 255s. I honestly think, well, now, as I speak, we would have gotten that. But the reason I like that level is just because, you know, that whole 50 cent level, that's also was basically the bottom of this move. Alas, we ended up taking about 45 cents. I got out at 75s. That was an area that we had a little bit of pause in that book. But if we stay weak here in TSLA, I want to take some more type of trades on this name. I am not traded. I used to trade Tesla like daily, and I've definitely let Tesla go. But you know what I mean? Maybe I'll regress to some of my old ways and go back to scalping this bad boy, to use a Sharifism, because Tesla certainly gives you some good opportunities. John Von Sauer wants me to take this AAPL. This AAPL does not work, but ask how high Nvidia will go. I mean, the thing is, I would like to see what we do at 120. 120 is like a natural resistance level for Nvidia. But you know the other name I would want to shake a magic 8-ball for would be PDD. Because PDD, what are you doing asking for a friend? Up about 10%. With PDD, it's worth noting, I read a lot of order books. I've talked about this a lot. That is, I would say, one of the hallmarks of my style. This PDD order book, crazy fast. So this thing is like, it's here 1 minute, it's gone the next. It's up, it's down, it's sideways. It doesn't run your stops too badly, so shout out to you, PDD, on Coinbase. You know, some other names definitely not getting that kind of respect from me. But PDD, I like the, you know, it's a fun name to trade, but you know, this thing can run like wildfire. We just got that bid creep into 112.70s. Let's see what happens. To me, though, the reason I brought this up is because I think this is very similar to Nvidia, continuing to push higher. Just had a bit of a bull flag here. Let's see if this goes up. If I can find an area that it makes sense to risk into, I would take a small PDD position, but I don't want to take a big position on PDD because, you know, with this one, you have to be, to use a pun Ramin once used in our ear when I was trading the stock, you've got to be pretty darn diligent with PDD just because of how that thing runs. Ramin says, I'm actually very wise if one chooses to listen to me. You know, I would say she, you know, she's nicer than we give her credit for. Okay.
You can have your own opinion on this. Have at it, girl.
She's like, get the word we, like, who's we? But yeah, no. So shout out to Ramin. Shout out as well to PDD. I actually really like the idea of going long here at the top. I know that is a weird choice, but this looks like a bull flag to me. What are you seeing? What patterns are screaming at you, Sharif, over here?
I'm just kicking myself, Adara. I just printed on Microsoft again, but I suck. I suck as a trader. I kept saying 428.80. It went back to 428.80, brah. It's not that hard. Put the resting order for sake. Look, this is an obvious area of support. We got long there. Look what it does, brah. It goes right back into that area and rejects off that area. That gives you 60 pennies quite so quickly. Frustrating. So we just took a little bit of a beak wetter there. Gonna wait for a bit of a bigger move down. Let's see if we can print something like in the teens or the 20s. We're knocking the door of the 30s right now. Some selling coming in. Just in case you guys are wondering, the yellow on my time and sales means mid-print. Those are mid-print orders. But the orders that come in blue and red, blue means below the bid, and red means at the bid. So it's moving up here. I've got to be careful because now I'm out of the money on this and I don't want this to go against me. Now let's see if we can put an order at 80s again. But now I've got two bottoming tail candles. So I don't know if I want the smoke here. Two bottoming tail candles and the market's at highs. It's not the smoke that I want. No, I'm going to set up at 80s again. If it wants to come in to that area and reject, then we'll basically look there. But the market's just too strong, bruh. The market's too strong. We're at 20,000, almost 150. We're getting into that IB high that we put in at 930, 20,153. We just printed 20,143. So the strength really coming in on the market, man. We are not far as well from that one dang 20 on Nvidia. We are talking 25 pennies. We printed 179, guys. 179, calm down, bro. 119.73. That is essentially right at that 120 area. This is what I was talking about when I said there's resistance at 120 on Nvidia. Here's the half an hour look. You reject on the 19th, couldn't break 120. Even on the 12th, when you did break 120, like on a technical basis, you got into 120.75, and then the smoke came right there. You break, where did that go? Is that before that? Yeah, there you go, 75, and then you ended up closing out the day at 118.50. So I don't need to be first into that Nvidia 120 trade because you've seen already its propensity to kind of give you an opportunity to get in. Even on the 19th, when it did get into that 190, I keep saying 190, 119.70s, give you a lot of opportunities to get short before it really flushed. These are half an hour candles too, keep in mind. So there was a lot of action that took place here near the highs. You're gonna have to pack your patience to get this short. And by the way, like on this day, the 19th, it started going red at 130. So you didn't get the move midday, you got the move after. Let's see what it did on the 12th. When did it start selling off? It started selling off at 2. So this is really interesting here where Nvidia seems to be getting this midday pump, right, into 120, only to wait for that more liquid time of the day when the BICA, is it coming down?
Dude, it's broke 120.
It broke 120, which is fine, Katina, man. We talked about what happened earlier with that 12th. It got to 120.75, so that's completely normal. 120.12, the Katina, man, absolutely accurate there. Let's see what it does. I'm not going to be first to this party. Reason is, again, you've seen it over here. It hangs out near that 120 area only to sell off later in the day. Likewise, over here on the 12th, hangs out in that 120 area only to start selling off at 2 o'clock. So we'll see what we get here with NVDA, but obviously it is the monster we all remember it to be. Put some dang respect on this one's name, 3% in the green, Adara.
Yeah, and it's worth noting too, while you were talking about that, I kept remembering how we were all feeling when Nvidia broke 1200, which would be the equivalent, level of the 120 with that split. I remember sitting there, I remember trading NVDL. This was early June. That was all the excitement. So Nvidia 120, very exciting. But what actually else has been pretty exciting here? It has been PDD. I got long PDD, a high of day. Obviously, not a decision I took lightly, but I looked at the pattern. I was like, this is a bull flag. It ended up manifesting as a bull flag. Basically, what's happening here in terms of my plan for profit taking, this thing is just really strong. I'm kind of just going to let it do its thing, 21, because I have a feel. I know what I like. I'm going to take out profit way too early. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing stops at 3-minute prior bar lows. That's what the plan was. If you guys saw me in CEG last week or DRI last week, we know I have a bit of a tendency to get kind of skittish about stops, be like, oh, get out early. No. PDD, whatever this trade wants to give me, it'll give me. I already am happy that, like I said, my first couple trades today, yuck, whack, whatever, But that, that was before. Where's the next trade, right? As Obi says. So shout out to him. He's not here today. PDD, basically, I'm watching here as what we do. Again, not like I'm saying this can run forever. Obviously, it probably can't. There's something bizarre with 113.15s. And it's funny because before we broke 113, I was like, Adara, maybe set a profit taker here at 113.15s. Let's see how that goes. That could be an interesting level. That was just random. I was just like, what's an area above 113 that this thing could fly into? 113.15 actually ended up being a bit of an area. So we'll see how this goes. I like this look. I'm happy with this trade. Shout out to Pretty Panda saying, I've been a poet today, and it's nice. So thin, I'm completely out. Let's take a look at Poet technology. We know Poet has been running or writing, I guess, as of late. Wow. Wow, Poet. Higher highs, higher lows, beautiful little uptrend here. But you know what could drive you up to that uptrend would be, it's not slow. We're going to talk about here some VinFast.
VinFast, Vietnam's leading electric vehicle manufacturer, has announced its Q2 2024 financial results. Delivery surged by 44% quarter over quarter, with 13,172 EVs delivered, bringing the first half total to over 22,000 vehicles. That's a 101% increase year over year. Q2 revenue climbed to $357 million, up 33% quarter over quarter. VinFast's success in Vietnam is pivotal, driven by rising EV adoption. With global expansion and new models like the VF3, VinFast aims to deliver 80,000 vehicles in 2024, maintaining its commitment to sustainable mobility. We're going to shout out the good folks there at VinFast. I just remember I was talking with Obi about this yesterday. I was at Yorkdale Mall, and Yorkdale Mall obviously has a VinFast store, as does Tesla, as does many of the other EVs, Lucid, Polestar, they're all there. Well, actually, Polestar's not there. What am I saying? There's a different one. In any event, so I went into the VinFast store, just shoot the breeze, so to speak, and that VF9 was there. Oh, baby, that VF9 is a looker, right? It's quite pricey, especially on this side of the border where the buying power is a little bit weaker. What's going on, Katina, man? They want over 100. It's good. It's good price. But when you compare it to some of the Lucids, Katina, man, where it's go up to 300K, keep it down there, Ram. It's a joke. So yeah, VF9, fantastic look. What are you looking at there?
Okay, so BDD stopped me out, break even, and that was actually kind of ironic. And I've said this before, I have like a bit of a tendency, because, we're looking at Poet, and honestly, again, great look there on Poet. So we looked at Poet, because I had the 3-minute candles, and that's my bad, honestly, like I didn't get to finish my stop, whatever, it's all good there, baby. And that's one of the things too that, like, I think it's such a unique experience. You're hosting and you're trading at the same time, right? So just have to have your stop set and wait. Basically, I got wicked out with my stop. I think prior bar low at that time was 112.70s. Get to 112.70, we're holding up decently for now. However, I'm now at the point where I think PDD is a short. Now, could that be revengey? Potentially. But I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, like I'm faultless on that. But why I like PDD as a short now? Look at this big old red reversal candle. Now, to be fair, we had that before. I tried shorting that and then we went higher. But PDD right now, I mean, this thing's up 10%. Like, I liked the long at the time, but as I said earlier, can this thing really run forever? I'm almost definitely inclined to say no. Like that's a lot to ask of any stock, right? And we're creeping below this 112.70s here. I want to watch. I want to wait. The area that I'd be comfortable shorting would be if we break below this previous support at 112.40. To me, that was kind of the area from whence that bear flag propelled. So if we break below that, then I'm comfortable shorting and I'm comfortable risking it into 112.70s. Until that point, I am not shorting. Jetboy wants to know why I'm not watching Nvidia. Yeah, I'll take a look at Nvidia. Honestly, I'm trying to trade more kind of setups that I'm comfortable with, right? Like you want to kind of develop your style, develop your type of trade. Nvidia is a great name, but I find there was a while where I was just trading Nvidia and Tesla because they were Nvidia and Tesla, not because I actually had setups I liked in them, right? So Nvidia, great look up here. So many great candles. However, we get to that 120.60, and honestly, again, I don't want to compare it to PDD because they're very different companies, but they're both kind of behaving similarly today, where we get to this uptrend and then we kind of get to a standstill. And although PDD is up more of the day, I think the Nvidia chart looks a lot better in terms of just that intense uptrend, especially given how much of a reversal this was. I want to see what we do here at 119.80s. That was the area that we opened this last green 5-minute candle with volume. Now we're getting a bit of a red candle. If we break below that 119.80, that could get a little bit dicey, but it's also worth noting, I think it was Caliber Debt. I don't know if Big Smile's over here, but he puts a big smile on our faces every single day. Shout out to him. But he's talked a lot about like how you can kind of use volume to trade things like the SPY. And I think what the volume's telling me here in Nvidia, buyers are far overwhelming sellers. This red candle that we're getting, this red doji candle that we're getting, not a ton of volume. But and this is something I believe Obi told me this. I want to shout him out here as well. Sometimes these doji candles, no matter what they do, they're often just seen as a moment of indecision. So if we close like here, like at that 120.50 area on NVDA on this candle, that's when I want to see what we do from here on out. Regardless of what the volume does here, again, volume saying there aren't that many sellers. Let's see if this direction ends up switching. Grov saying SMCI reaching resistance again. Yeah, I have some levels on SMCI, Grov. I'm going to see if I can work them out. I will say yesterday morning I said to Sean, I'm like, if SMCI breaks above that 457, I want so much smoke. And then, that thing broke out, basically immediately gave you $20. I was not there, and it happened at the open, so I wouldn't have been able to trade it anyway. But I digress. No, I'm joking, I'm not even in Tesla. But SMCI here, the levels I like 457, of course, 464 and 472. So until we get those levels, I'm going to wait. But the other thing, too, is we are at a key level of resistance. But SMCI also having some higher lows. So I want to wait. I want to watch. I want to scheme. I want to plot and hopefully get some money. I fully missed my PDD short area. So let's see if this thing can end up manifesting. I'm going to have an order ready at just below 112.40s. And PDD is like, holds my Temu, we're going to go to the downside. How are you doing?
I'm looking at the future. Look at this, guys. We're awfully close to 20,200. And this is a big move because this is 1 hour candle right here. So we got off the schneid from 20,075, as my friend Neil likes to say, and we're going to break through or get to 20,200. When is the last time we were at 20,200? September 19th, and we rejected. Do we reject this time? I don't know, man. This is one hell of a candle. There goes 20,200. Now we're at 20,207 and still going. Generally 20,200, excuse me, but what a move up in these here markets, guys. This is the NQ 5-minute contract. Since 10:40 this morning, there is no red candle on the 5-minute chart. There is none. Keep looking. There's one yellow candle over here, which means that it opened or closed at the exact same spot that it opened. And hence the volume is yellow as well. So what a move up, man. I mean, I did not have this pegged. I don't usually have a bias one way or another for the markets. I just kind of take what the market gives me, but I did not expect this. I did not expect Nvidia to be the leader. I guess maybe the market looking at Jensen selling as maybe an opportunity because he owns so much. So they're just going to buy the shares that he has to sell. I don't know, man. We are blowing through the levels that I had earmarked. I was looking for a 120-ish reversion. There is no red candle right now on Nvidia, man. This is absolutely parabolic. Okay, and that's not an exaggeration. This is a $3 trillion market cap. To move it like this, you need big boy money. What the hell is the market cap on this thing today? Okay, it's a little bit less than 3 trillion, 2.96. You guys get the point. In any event, to move it around this aggressively, that takes big boy money, but that's nothing we haven't seen in the past. It's just too wild for me. Here, I didn't anticipate this at all. Fantastic look for the market, man. Google's also at or near highs, I should say. We were waxing poetic and how Google was the strongest of the 7. That's obviously changed since we made that analysis, but let's put some respect on Google's name. It's also up nicely here. Right up into that pivot point, essentially that 163 high a day that we put at the IB high. So it's not just Nvidia moving up, Google moving up, but obviously Nvidia parabolic, Apple as well, below it, well, not below, breaking through the volume weighted average price, incrementally stair-stepping up, breaking through this resistance at the $0.50. We'll see if that can continue. But there's a lot of small cap gappers. And I saw Dara talking about Poet over here. Somebody was asking you about it. Fantastic look for Poet. But here it comes. 560 touch the high a day. Volume weighted average price 505. What better entry than VWAP for a small cap gapper? POET. Good directional name. 19%, much higher at the highs and giving you predictable levels off which to get in. We'll see if this 505 wants to act as a level of support, putting in a bit of a hammer candle or a bottoming tail candle. Now we'll have to wait until this closes before we give it a full analysis. AAOI as well, coming down off the high, $17 acts as resistance. I would submit to you, though, there is some support at 1620 to 16 to 1620. Topping tails, the wicks go into 1620. The closing prints look like they're basically rejecting off 16. You also have the volume weighted average price at 16. So I like AAOI, man. I mean, I like a lot of these names today. They look awfully good. Poet, AAOI. EI, uh-oh. Is that what you wanted, Rimmer? Jokes. AAOI, no, seriously, though. I mean, off 16, I think this is a hell of a look. I already wax poetic at WEV. Fantastic look there. BNZI also reclaiming the volume weighted average price. But with this one, we were talking about how this had an interesting support level right at where it was forming a base at 17 3/4 to 17.5. And it was basing, I'm assuming, off these areas of previous resistance. I wasn't going to take it as a breakout trade because it was south of VWAP. Let's see if it can hold above here, maybe reclaim 9, and then we can talk about maybe moving back into that 11 1/5 to take out the highs. But BNZI, like this market, very up on the day, up 103%. The market finding a bit of a resistance at 20,200. Only one red candle right now, like I mentioned, on the NQ since this morning at 10:40. If this candle closes the way it is, got to think about a couple of minutes left before this candle closes. It will be the first red candle at Dara since 10:40. Wowzers.
Wow, yeah, wowzers indeed over here. PDD, I am short. I'm very proud of myself. I waited, like I said, I thought it was like, oh, I missed my boat. No. I waited, I said, get the I guess not a dip buy, a rip sell at 112.40s. That was the area I liked. It worked for like a couple seconds. The plan was to take some out here at 112, then add back in. We never got to take any out there at 112. Clearly some kind of area. And we did get stopped out of PDD, and we actually got stopped. We're shut down just of where that PDD stopped out. I need to work on my stops clearly because this is the third time today where I've lost like exorbitantly more than I should have been losing on a stop. And PDD is not really, I think, spready enough for that to make sense. So it's all good. We're going to take some screenshots. We're going to switch over to the sim. We're going to keep giving you guys a good show. You know what I mean? You have good days. You have bad days. You have meh days. Sharif's having a good day with that Nvidia. Let me tell you, and I love that area of entry because that was that previous talk.
See, it's risky, Adara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will not opine on that, but I will wish you the best of luck in your purple shirt.
Thank you.
Because I really do like that shirt. Also, Tesla. So, Tesla is umbrellaing hard here. We are hard umbrellaing, okay? We have that push down. We get that push up here to 150, 5250s, umbrella, Ella, A, continuing to the downside. However, I will believe that we're actually reversing because the umbrella handle pattern is a continuation pattern. We're in a downtrend. You get a sharp move up, then you get more rain to the downside. Inverse umbrella handle pattern, same thing. But I will believe this is a reversal if we can push above 550, 250. At that point, I'm like, cool, I'm wrong. We're reversing. As of right now, I believe Tesla is a short, but it doesn't matter what I believe. It only matters what I can trade and what I can do. And that's huge, right? That's one of the biggest things that matters here in this market that we are all taking part in, right? So that's an interesting note there for TSLA. What else do I have in my... Oh!
Do you want me to take over while you switch?
Yeah, so guys, I want to quickly look at snow before I switch. Thank you, though. Snowflake. Okay, Snowflake, bull flag. Snow flag over here. Look at this bounce at 110 higher. With this chip top, what was that level I liked on this? Oh, 113.50. So we're a little far removed from that. But Snowflake right now, just flying that beautiful flag to the upside. I will probably get long this in the sim. I just wanted to let you guys know about that. It's unfortunate things happen, but you know what you got to do? Keep on moving. Keep on swimming. Shout out to Finding Nemo or Finding Dory. Right now, we're going to find our sim login. How are you doing?
All right. We took a bit of a beak wetter on Nvidia, but as you can see, we got stopped out for the rest. This thing is a dang rocket. So, like OB did last week, I want to pack my patience. I saw that trade he had on Apple. I saw that trade he had on Meta. And he packed his patience. I want to pack mine. So, if this sets up, I really want to underscore if, because I'd like to pretend that I'm a trend trader. And this is definitely not the trend. I'm going against the trend here, but I just did not see this type of parabolic nature on Nvidia. But I need to remove my bias. The fact that I didn't see it doesn't really matter at all, the market. The fact that it's going up should be good enough for me here. So this one does not look like it wants to stop. One red candle amongst the sea of green today on Nvidia. And I got to tell you, Nvidia and the futures look almost identical. And by futures, I'm talking about the NQ, right? Almost identical to how they've developed essentially from 940 onwards. 940 was the last green or last red candle. On 935 was the 1035, excuse me, was the last red candle on the future. And I believe it is 1040, the last red candle on Nvidia. So very much moving in tandem today. And it behooves me to go with the dang trend rather than thinking that I am going to be able to spot the tops. Let it come down. If it wants to come down, that's fine. We will deal with that trade then. What's the look right now? We got 35 highs. All right, let's do some charting on Nvidia over here, even though Neil's ready. Okay, all right, my bad. We'll do the charting after we do get back from the hotline dropper himself. He is Neil Roberts. His lesson of the day.
Thank you, everybody. Your lesson of the day today brought to you by Firefly Neuroscience, revolutionizing brain health. Groundbreaking brain network analytics technology is transforming care for patients with depression, dementia, anxiety, concussions, and ADHD. With 15 years of research and a wealth of brainwave data, we're set to illuminate the future of diagnostics and treatment. Pharmaceutical companies and medical practitioners, get ready. FDA 510 cleared BNA technology is here to supercharge your clinical trials and enhance patient care. Join us at Firefly Neuroscience, traded on the NASDAQ as AIFF, and be part of the next big leap in neuroscience. Ignite hope, one brain at a time. Ignite the markets, one Nvidia tick at a time. This is going to be we're at the tops now, and I was just reminded of a quote that's going to inform this lesson of the day, because I was going to do one thing, and let's be real, we got to talk about something else here. Anybody that's seen Trading Day? One of my favorite movies of all time. Denzel says to Jake, "It's not what you know, it's what you can prove." So I don't know why Nvidia went meme crazy. Personally, I don't care why Nvidia went meme crazy. I got up to go for a bit of a break, went to the bathroom, we'll check to see if lunch was there, and the stock was at $116 something. I sat back down and this was breaking out the top and going absolutely parabolic. But I didn't know it was going to, like everybody else, probably the first thing I did when it did this move to this move, and I had just been up and about for a little bit, like, okay, well, what is actually going on here? I see nothing. Like, oh, well, I don't want to join it. Feels like a little bit like too parabolic for me when I'm trading it blind. And the best you can do in a situation like this, look, don't get me wrong. Like, I went from green to red on Nvidia today. The longs were pretty solid early. I wish we'd actually gone long at that bottom. The best you can sometimes do, A, is like limit losses, B, wait for key price areas. And I think I heard a lot of people talking about $120 on Nvidia, and this is $120. When if you look at it up here, this is 121, and then you go back to last time it was in a bit of a downward trend, and the resistance was actually a little bit higher in that 121 into 121.5. If it breaks out that, you're looking at 125. When things are going parabolic, you can always do yourself the favor of zooming way the heck out and at least saying, okay, if you're going to take a shot at a reversion on this, of course you're going to look for a huge upside on a reversion trade. You know, and sometimes if you scalp, don't get me wrong, if I scalped this, I actually would have made money short. Like that should have been a scalp trade and then out, but it wasn't. I'm reloading it at the top and it keeps trying to go higher and higher and higher. And when this is going on, the best you can do if you're going to do this is you pick a spot, profit from it, and then hold. Like profit, hold. Or find yourself a very strict entry. When we talk about mean reversion, a lot of times I'll do something like this, like look at the trend to the upside. Well, that's thrown out. But look at it when it trapped people short the first time. Like just look at my own execution, right? There's a trap. And then so this is the first short off 120. There's a support. Look at that 121 short. There's a support. So maybe I don't want it again. Instead of guessing the high, I'll just look at where it dip bought when people were entering into the most reasonable short trades off of 20 and 21. And if it loses that, then you go for a reversion. And like I said, this is going to be a little something on the fly. I could have looked at other names in here, but obviously Nvidia is kind of doing it. And if you just short every single little bit of a curl that looks red, some of them are going to end up with a candle that ends red, and others will just look like a curl, and then it just makes a fresh high. However, if you break a newly established trend line, at least now I can formulate some kind of a trade. Anybody buying the dips on the traps up here after it went parabolic can be trailing to there. If I short underneath, at this moment, it's going to look like, you know, underneath here at probably at 75, and then you're out at 121. And we always talk about patience. And a lot of times, the thing about being patient is you have to be willing not to be like dead right. So everyone wants the bottom and everyone wants the top. But when something is happening like this, sometimes you want to take a step back, say, hey, if it reverts without me, so be it. But it's got to set something up that is worth taking. And if it's not worth taking, then you can easily just stay away from it. So I'm going to save this trend line because I I kind of want that to still be there when I go back and leave it up on another chart there. If it breaks this 120.75 and closes underneath, I think that provides you with something. The other thing that you can sometimes consider when something like this is happening is, okay, well, look at the sympathy play, or a sympathy, I mean, not the sympathy play, I mean a sympathy play. So go over and look at something that was weak, that goes parabolic with it, and then start to compare. So SMCI, which was weak all morning long, kind of like all the other chip names, this bounced and broke VWAP as well. So this test of the high in SMCI, when it finally went above pre-market highs, right in here about 11:48, so 20 minutes ago. At 11:48, Nvidia was making this break of 120, and it since went to 121.60. So Nvidia is still going higher. It tried to turn there, and it's still trending higher. Meanwhile, SMCI is putting in a lower high. It's not to pick on SMCI, it's just the absolute truth here. Since Nvidia got to the first level that most people would have been looking for short, the majority of people I'd say were looking at that 120, SMCI wicked the top. When Nvidia made its second high, which is at the 121, which is even higher, but at the bigger resistance level on the 15-minute, SMCI was making a lower high. So the sympathy play, and what's weird about it is you saw me just going over and over again into Nvidia, not doing the sympathy play. But when it's GameStop, I don't have any trouble doing this. When GameStop goes to the upside, you know me, is like, is Cost going? Is BlackBerry going? Is AMC going? Is something that is not GameStop going? And then I want to fade that the second that I think it's a short opportunity in the thing leading the market and going the most parabolic. And I'm not telling you that SMCI is going to pull into VWAP with 100% certainty. But if Nvidia pulls back into VWAP, SMCI is almost certainly going into VWAP. And one of them is a moving freight train and the other is not. So, your lesson of the day, very simply, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter, okay? You don't need to have a story behind something to be able to rationalize why a move is going on. Sometimes what you need to do is just take a step back, evaluate it based on the price action, find the right levels to at least trade off of. If you can, find a sympathy play. If it doesn't make sense and it's going to revert, take something else. Like either get a really good entry, like I said, the trend reversion, or find yourself a sympathy play that, hey, if it unwinds, this is going to go too because it only went up following it like SMCI. But if Nvidia just keeps on making highs and highs and highs, well, SMCI was never making fresh highs anymore anyways. So now you've got something which is relatively weak in a move, and you're not necessarily as worried about it cracking the top. It's not an easy thing to do in the heat of the moment because you see the biggest opportunity in the thing that's moving the most. But it doesn't necessarily mean the best mean reversion trade or the best opportunity is in that stock unless you're joining the trend. So in this particular case, it could be SMCI. I mean, heck, you could probably look at maybe Micron or maybe an ARM or something else in the space works out. It just so happened that I used SMCI as an example. But when you get a parabolic mover to the upside, you want to be very, very particular about your entries. And if you can, find something adjacent to it that's less risky and a better setup for the reversion trade because traders are going to try them. We're going to try and pick bottoms. We're going to try and pick tops. The best you can do is take the best opportunities for those reversions and not just every single one that looks half decent. That's your lesson of the day. Good luck, everybody. Nvidia, mean crazy again.
Thank you very much, Neil. Informative, eloquent, and just all around awesome as always, man. If you're around these parts, if you're with us at noon, Neil Roberts dropping hot lines every day around that noon hour. Thank you very much again, Neil. And I really want to echo the sentiment he has there because it's basically building on what I was just saying on Nvidia. I'm sitting here trying to rationalize in my mind why everybody and their mother's cousins buying this up after Jensen was selling. It doesn't need a story. The price action is a story in and of itself. I need to stop trying to look for reasons. Thank you, Neil, for reinforcing that idea. I think a lot of people get a lot of stuff from what you say every day. So right now, yes, I did short Nvidia. Again, I got a little bit of a beak wetter, 25 penny super quick, but look what it's doing. It's moving up again through 121. So I'm done doing that. I think that is going to get me into trouble. If it didn't get me into trouble yet, it will get me into trouble later. I need a full out mean reversion here, not a whiffle and waffle in the formation of what looks like to be a bull flag off these highs, right? I don't want to be shorting any bull flags because we know what that is. It's a continuation pattern. It usually manifests in higher highs. So we'll keep that in mind, and we'll keep on the lookout for different trades. So the future absolutely at highs, likely because of the pump on Nvidia. Big day for Nvidia. Big day. Well, not a huge day for the future, but up 0.2%. Not bad. Apple also breaking through VWAP and incrementally putting in those higher highs and higher lows. It was a gnarly sell-off at the open on AAPL, and it was a big drop down. Can't break through 230. 230's been a hot level here for a minute. Even on the day, the rebalancing day on Friday, when we did decidedly break 230, where do we close? Anybody remember? Oh, I do. 228, 227. It didn't close at 230. So sure, intraday moves are great. They're fantastic for day traders and intraday traders, but it is the closing print, that money that wants to stay in the position after 4 o'clock. That's the money I want to take notice of, and it closed below 230. So in my humble estimation, Apple still has 230 resistance. Can we play that to our advantage today? I think so, because we're respecting key areas of support and resistance over here. So have a look at this. So once we break through this area crest over here at 227.50, now we're starting to use 227.50 as support. So all these wicking candles really finding their footing at the $0.50, weaseling up incrementally into that 3/4. It's not parabolic, it's not Nvidia, but it is putting those predictable higher highs and higher lows. Let's see if we can weasel something off a nice retracement over here. It's put in now 2 lower highs and 2 higher highs. So not a bad look right now for AAPL, but definitely not the strongest of the bunch by a long shot. Amazon also breaking through this 192.88. We were talking yesterday with the OB about the Bezos shelf, that 200. When can we see another attempt at that Bezos level? Because we know that it was rejecting off 200 to no end, assuming that Jeff Bezos was selling. I think we did actually get a story around that $200 level when Amazon was at that $200 level that Bezos was selling. So I'm going to pack my patience to have a look and see what these futures give us. All right, let's look at Nvidia over here. All right, so now we're getting the lower highs. Okay, this candle, the 1205 candle on the 5-minute look, for the moment, is the area crest. That crest, 121.62. Subsequent candle, that 210 candle, lower low, lower high. That 1215 candle, lower high. We're still waiting on that lower low. Did we get the lower low? Yeah, marginally. So maybe coming back down. The thing is, though, here's the thing. If we come back down, are we using 120 now as support? We know 120 was resistance at least 2 days in the past little while, this month. If we clear it by $1.62, which is what we've done on the day, do we use 120 as support? That's going to be a question. Get it, Katina Man. The Katina Man short Nvidia over here. He's pumped. We're going to shout him out, and we're going to hope he prints up multiple storms. Because I'm looking at Nvidia, and it's on the way down, and you got pumped up. That's how I kind of guessed, Katina Man. So NVDA looking nice. It's coming back down. But my question to you guys is, what do you guys think? You guys think 120 holds as support? And the thing, Ram, is that 10 exponential on the 5, a level that I love for intraday trading, is right at that 120. So, I don't want to put too much stock. I don't want to put too much stock into, one measly moving average, exponential or otherwise. But it is hanging out at that whole dollar level, Adair, or that $10 level. So good look right now. We're going to shout at the Katina Man. We're going to hope he prints up multiple storms on that side of the desk.
Yeah, so I shout out to there. We hope all the storms are printed. I hope it is a category 7,000 hurricane with how many storms are being printed over there. I hope it, we were talking once about how the hurricanes are named after people. I hope Hurricane Winifred or whatever is going on.
Did you hear about that storm that didn't have a name a few days ago or like a week ago?
Yeah.
It was a nameless storm.
Nameless?
I don't understand what was up with that.
It's Storm Doe. Instead of Jane Doe, John Doe, Storm Doe.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's a weird... Wait, no, that's what I meant.
There it is.
Okay, so Palantir. Guys, also I want to clarify again, I am in the sim, got shut down, definitely need to work on my stops. And by that I mean what is happening is I am losing, because I trade a lot of spreadier stocks, losing way more than should theoretically be lost. And I'm like I'm placing them, we're getting run, so it's all good there. PLTR. Okay, initially I was long here. I like the higher highs, I like the higher lows. Then we fat fingered and we got out. Now you might be like, Adara, then why would you go short? Well, I realized, I was like, hey, Adara, hey, look at this rejection of that hard previous support at 36.65. I went, smells like opportunity. So I went short. I also figured out, because I've said for whatever reason, I have more buying power in the sim, but I'm able to take less shares. It doesn't matter what stock. Figured a way around that. Had a couple. If you get them already before any of them fills, you can take more shares. I don't know why. So I got that. Taking some more shares here. And again, I'm clarifying, this is the same way I'd be trading it live. I would be taking more shares of Palantir live, just based on how I'm risking. My average price is, drumroll please, just so I can tell you guys, because it's, 36.57. I'm risking into 70, so I'm risking 13 cents. I want a low of day break here. Will I get one? You know, I could totally be wrong, but I want to try this trade. And again, not just because I've had figured out of the long, I do think it could be a bit of a short here. Also, I was asked about PDD and Tesla, so I'm going to give my opinions quickly on those two. We know I have opinions on. And PDD, Mo, I think in the chat was asking about PDD short. Now, I was honestly, I was trying to get the long PDD. At one point, I was short bias PDD. Right now, I wouldn't take it either direction. And that is because we can't break 112. 112, we got this bottoming wick into it, right? Then we come higher. I was like, oh, maybe we'll reject 40s again. Did it for half a second, but then we came up and reclaimed. Now, to be clear, the balance of the evidence, and this is a bit confused. I don't know if a jury would return a guilty verdict or a not guilty verdict. We'll make it a hung jury here. We might have to do a retrial. And I say that because we got a lower high here, slightly higher lows. There's obvious support at 112. So I think until we break below 112 or we break above 113, I do not have an opinion on this stock. However, I would like to make it known that we did make a higher low in our most recent, traverse to the downside here. So with that in mind, right now, I think PDD could still be bullish. If we break below 112, my opinion will be changed. Palantir is chilling there. Well, oh, yeah, Tesla was the other one I was going to look at. Vikyan Novak was asking what I thought about. I think it was a Tesla long. My opinion on TSLA, kind of similar to my opinion on PDD. I need it to give me a direction. But Tesla's giving me a little bit more clarity than PDD. And I've talked about this a lot. I find it really bullish or really bearish if you've got, instead of a double bottom, you have your area of support, then you find support or resistance if you're looking for, a short at the same level, and then you get a bottoming tail or topping tail candle, because that means we're so bearish or bullish, we can't even get to that level again on a closing basis. We just bounce. So for me, I actually like Tesla long. I would get long. You know what? We are going to get long here, 50s. We're going to risk it into 252s. I'm fully cool with that. And I like this. Let's go. Let's go for TSLA. Let's see what happens here. I would be taking some profit at 253.20s. Then I'd be adding back in if we come bounce here. I love these bottoming tail candles. This position I really like. We're going to give it a ones. Also, I want to try something here too. I've talked about how I like having stops for these tickers that are with tighter spreads. I find the stops don't work for me for spreadier tickers, so I'm not going to saying I'm going to trade spready tickers in the sim for the heck of it. But if I see a spready ticker trade set up here for me, I will be attempting to, trade those without a stop because I'm in the sim, just because I feel like that might be a better solution for myself. How you doing over here?
Good. I'm just keeping an eye on Nvidia. It's still, whiffling and waffling, but still above the 10 exponential. So just staying put. A new small cap gapper has emerged midday. Look, this one did a big boy pre-market move, but it did basically nothing since, the pre-market, or when it printed that high in the pre-market. What time was that? 7:30 until now. Look at what it did. It was below VWAP, just barely holding on to that $1.18 that it closed out yesterday. I'm talking about FAAS, FAS. 6.12 million shares, $103 million market cap, and the company float is 26 2/3 million shares. Let's bring down trade ideas and find out what the short float is on FAS. 4.46%, certainly not the biggest ever, but also not negligible. I like this. It's getting its volume midday. You know how I feel about these midday small cap gappers, the ones that haven't exhausted all their volume either in the pre-market or in the opening, phases of the day. This one, volume coming in, big boy, right at that 12 o'clock time slot. So better part of 20 minutes. It is going, baby. It is not above the pre-market high, but it's at that $1.82. So it is going, and I've loaded it up on a trading screen. Thank you for that, Neil. I did see it, but shout out to Neil Roberts, baby. Always keeping tabs on this market. Here's why this is moving. Digi Asia. Shares jump on Paymate's unit acquisition plan. We don't need to dig deep into this, but it behooves me to tell you that this headline did come in at 7 o'clock. So this is not a new headline. This headline here was likely the reason we pamped at this 7 o'clock time slot. It popped up into that $3.10 area at 7 o'clock. I'm assuming these 8 o'clock prints, these are institutional prints, and I'm not gonna go into a dissertation on what these things are, but there's all sorts of theories. But this here is a real print, 7 a.m. That is real. It's on low volume, obviously, or lower-ish volume. Again, no halt parameters in the pre. That's how it's able to weasel its way up like that without actually getting volatility halt. 310, that's the look there. 183 is the official high day. That is the print after 9:30. Good look, respecting the 10 exponential moving average on the 5. Even before that big boy volume started coming in at 12 o'clock, it started moving, breaking above the range right at 11:45, I want to say. It wasn't on big boy volume, about 66,000 shares printed there. But look at the subsequent candles at 12. 500,000 here. 700,000 there, 583. You guys get it. There's big boy volume and there's enough liquidity for all of us. It's just how we weasel into this trade. Kind of weird why it started moving midday, despite the fact that the headline was a 7 a.m. headline. Doesn't matter. Maybe somebody's digested the news, they like it, they're gonna start positioning into the trade. So I've got it loaded up. FAAS up over here on a trading screen. It's, like I said, $1.82. How I play this, I'm a little unsure. Just started looking at it now. There is a bit of a double top, ironically enough, over here at this $1.72, $1.70. So I'm thinking a $1.70 would likely be a good entry point, and then I can give it to VWAP, which ironically is at $1.60. So I'm going to front run the size. I'm going to put it at a $1.72, see if I can weasel my way into this trade. I'm telling you from now that I likely will. Dollar cost average in between that 172 entry, if I get filled, and the volume weighted average price at 160. I like this as a breakout trade if it's able to hold above that volume weighted average price, which again on my chart right now is 160. The problem is though, look at all these topping tails. I don't like that. I don't like the topping tails. It usually means sellers overwhelming buyers at that level. We're printing 172s and now we got the fill. So come what may now. Now, where are we going to put our entry for our DCA? So exactly the level is 160. So I'd like to front run that 160 level by a skosh. Let's put it at 162 and see what we get there. Dropping below 170, 171 on the ask right now. So we'll see. We'll see if this one wants to hold up. It's obviously in play. A lot of volume coming in midday on this one. And we're going to look to do, hopefully, a little bit well on it. Hopefully, we don't get stopped out. First beak wetter is going to have to be 10 pennies to test the high at that 182 level. Otherwise, we're going to get stopped out, Adara, on the break of the volume weighted average price. We'll see which one comes first.
Yeah, so I got stopped into the Palantir short. I am not long Palantir, just so you guys know. Still in the SIM also, just in case anyone came in late. Tesla also got stopped out here. I added to the position when we got that push up into 252.75s. Then I moved my my stop because I've said to what I'm trying to do with regards to rules with my stop losses. If I add in, I'm going to move it so I'm risking the same amount. Now, why do I like SMCI long? Okay, so bull flag, but that's not the only reason. I like this bull flag. I like the fact, like I said earlier, Nagrav said, and I started to Nagrav in the chat mentioning, hey, this could be a bit of a short. And I think that's when we were in that 470 area. My thing at the time was we have higher lows. My thing is still we have higher lows, but that's not the reason I got in. This book looks really bullish to me. We kept having little bid creeps here. I think if we get into 468 yeah, there we go. So we get to the 468. Now we're starting to pump here. I said I'm trying an experiment, not using stop losses like hard stops in just because as I'm in the sim, I may as well work on this on these spreadier tickers because I find it does not work for me, and it's actually kind of cramping my style with regards to what I'm able to kind of trade. So I don't love that. What I'm going to do here though is I'm going to use a mental stop at 466. I like these wicks here to 466. I think if we break into or below 466, I don't want. Sure, I want none of that smoke. I don't even want a bit of that smoke. I'm like asthmatic at that point if we get to 466. So I'm going to stay above 466. I'm cool with that. Then you might be asking, maybe you're not, you probably aren't, but if you are, Adira, where would you be taking profit? Well, I like 470. I like 472 initially is what I wrote, but 471 seems more realistic. It'll be kind of basically the top of this little bull flag pattern, that 470 40s. That's where we're going to be taking out some of this position. So that is just over I guess around a 2-to-1 risk to reward. Either way, my thing has always been as long as I am not risking more than I am trying to make, I am pleased as punch with that. So that is where our beak winner is. Happy I have the initiative for this SMCI. We are over a point in the paper money, not, in the same here, but happy I took this trade. This is what you have to wait for opportunities that make sense to you. Had I been a little bit more patient, live, I could have taken this trade live, which obviously would have been a lot sweeter, but woulda, coulda, shoulda. That's how you learn. You learn from your mistakes. Tesla, I said 252 bounce would be pretty clear. Tesla bouncing off 252. I may try this long again, but I want to see us clear 252.85s. That's a bit of an area of resistance earlier. This is interesting. Gurov saying SMCI on the 15-minute has an ugly shooting star candle with volume, which is why I took short. Let's take a look at that 15-minute. Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. I do see what you mean there. That is a bit of an ugly-looking candle, but I think, too, even on the 15-minute, you do still have, I think, a bit of an interesting resistance support flip at 468. And I've talked about this sometimes. If you've already had resistance support flip, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll get resistance again. No. I will say, I find they actually do flip-flop. So if it served as support, then it serves as resistance. You're probably not going to have it serve as resistance again. You might see it form as support. That's just something I've seen from observation. To me, honestly, I'm still seeing some bullishness on the 15. That shooting star, that's an ugly candle. I fully agree. And I'm not trying to smoke any hopium, I promise. I'm in the sim. I just really believe in this look. And I think the fact that we can't get below that 467, honestly, nice look. Did you just, Sharif's saying some naughty things?
No.
Oh, I thought you were saying, being
No, it's an inside joke because I've got a broken finger. I'm not going to disgust everybody by showing it to them, but I discussed Ram, so that's okay.
That's what you guys do, yeah. How is that fast?
It's good, but I'm really proud of this trade a lot more. Nvidia got into the 10 exponential on the 5. Where did I get long? I got long at 70-something. I was able to wet my beak in the high 90s, so I took 25 pennies quick as you like on Nvidia. Reason I got in here, super simple. It really did respect the volume-weighted average price, and it ended up green. So I was like, all right, look, if we're going to whiffle and waffle and respect, I said volume-weighted average price. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant the 10 exponential moving average on the 5. It got right back in there. So I was like, all right, if we're going to start curling back here and looking for support to be, at that $0.50 level or the 10 exponential, whatever it is, I want to get in. So I was able to scalp a little bit on this one. I think I'm going to try my hand at this one again if it does do that kind of hold at the 10 exponential and then start curling back up. But what I mean by that is if we get this area where we're keep getting buying in and around that $0.50 to kind of shadow the 10 exponential and then incrementally put higher lows and higher highs, not by that much, but we get that curling effect. You know what I mean? Where we're rounded bottom. That's where I'll look to get in on NVDA. Shout out to Ram. But that's a look. So NVDA, the monster it is that we all know it to be, manifesting again on the day over here. Let's see what the rest of the day brings for said NVDA. Let's go back into our other trade. Oh, baby! We just took up the top on Fast Adara. So nicely in the money on this one. We're going to put our next out, guys. Let's put it 92s. What's life without whimsy? So we'll put that, and then we're going to hang out at 92s. We're at printing 86s. We just got the top of the day break there at 82s. Now we're printing 86. We'll see if we can possibly test that $2 level. I'd like to front run that $2 level, knowing that there's probably going to be a little bit of zig, a little bit of zag with respect to selling at that level. Note that I still have my DCA, dollar cost average order on FAAS still active. The reason is, well, it really hasn't given me a reason to remove it. I mean, it's putting in higher highs, higher lows here on the 5-minute chart, which is good. So, and it's trading above the volume weighted average price. You know, if you've been watching the show for a hot minute, you know that my rule is with these small cap gappers, I never take them long as a breakout trade below VWAP, never take them short as a breakdown trade above VWAP, but I will range trade them from time to time below and above VWAP, but not as breakouts. Certainly not as breakouts. Here we go. Testing 86 again. We're waiting at 92s. Let's see if this one can get parabolic. I'd like to see if this one can take out the top over here. Definitely some selling coming in into the high 80s. All right, so showing 87s now. Keep your eye on the tape. You can get bamboozled on the level 2, but you can't get bamboozled on the tape. Even iceberg orders are going to show up on the timing sales. Can't hide that. So we're going to keep our eye on that. Look for big boy orders coming in over here and looking at what gateway they come from. That's important as well. Maybe we'll have Obe do a lesson on that. We're one of the traders there on the floor because they do really focus on that kind of stuff to see which gateways are doing what on the day. So here we go. 86 again, showing up over here. Happy with this trade, but looking for more. Looking to weasel into some more with this DCA still active to defend the volume weighted average price. It looks like the seller over here at 85 holding off the buyers for the moment. We're going to see if we can pack our patience and get that final print. Only a couple of beak wetters on this one, guys, but happy with this stuff over here. Let's see what people are. My eyes can never unsee Sharif's broken finger. It's getting worse, Ram. It's spreading. Yeah, anyway. I have an interesting, you know where spreading is, right? Remember? Yes. And by the way, who's that individual that I didn't know today?
Michael Key?
Yeah, so I did know who he is. I know Key and Peele, man. I know that show, Key and Peele. I just didn't know his full name, by the way. So I do know about that individual. So just wanted to put that out there. That's not good enough, says Neil. Sorry. Brandon Townsend, thank you. Shout out to you, my man. I'm saving y'all's eyes, says Ram. And by the way, I totally forgot to tell you guys about this, but we have an afternoon segment. Who knew? And you guys are invited to vote right now or anytime from now until 1:50. That is the cutoff. Vote for your favorite takers every day. Have a look at the screen. There is the prompt on the screen there. Exclamation point. Join, the word join, then space, $, and the ticker of your choice. Something tells me, though, Ram, that today the #1 ticker will likely be Nvidia. Just a shot in the dark there.
I think it might be C-Poop. No, I'm joking. It's just a reference to that day that Sharif kept calling C-Pop, C-Poop, and then everyone voted for C-Poop. Also, Smicky. You know, some people have said in the chat, they made this joke before I found it, oh, Smicky, you're so fun, you blow my mind. Hey, Smicky. But yeah, shout out to SMCI. Now, I know I said I was initially waiting to take out a piece till I got to 470.50s. I changed my mind here because to me, I actually think there's spicier resistance at 469.50s. Are you laughing at Neil trolling you with Cowboys?
Why does he have to do me like that?
Yeah,
Because his boys are winning. They're winning hand over fist. Mine are getting pooped on. And, like, you know, he's just got to make me feel some sort of way all the time.
Williams are having a good time.
Look at that. There you go. He's feeling himself today. He has a right to be because you guys dominated. That was big boy domination yesterday. Sorry to interrupt you, Darren.
That's okay, no worries. Yep. So this SMCI, basically, I still feel good about this as a bullish case. And actually what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take some out here of 469.50s. That's, to me, a pretty clear area of resistance. We get really skittish on the book at that level. But a level on the book that I love as support is 467.88. Is that highly specific? Absolutely. But as the book pushed it in my face, Adara, look at this. Yes, it has. We get to 467.88. Does not matter. We bounce. So I'm going to set once I get filled here, I don't want to add till I take some out. I know it's in the sim, but I still want to be fiscally responsible and trade this how I would trade it live. That is what I like to do. I will be adding to this position at 467.88. Now, I don't have a hard stop. I've said what I'm trying to do while I'm in the sim zone, use this opportunity to experiment with not using hard stops on spready stocks. I find it just chops me up. It's not conducive to having good risk. It's not conducive, in my opinion, to me being able to formulate my trades appropriately. Also, it's interesting that so you broke the middle finger in the left hand. That's the same finger of mine that's been like injured forever. So shout out to middle hand. Middle finger.
It's a little bit embarrassing how I did it. I was actually sleeping. So I was like tossing in my sleep and I wailed my hand on my night table and it fractured. Yeah. And it woke me up, but I was like, yeah, man, sleep's just way too important. So I fell back asleep. And like literally days later, it started manifesting. I tried to go
It's the
to
worst
the
when it's on immediate.
yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. I tried to go to the clinic over here, but shout out to Ontario Health, the best health ever. There was no lineup or anything there.
Sarcastic.
It was super quick to get in, Adara. There was nobody waiting.
Sarcastic, right?
Yes, I'm being sarcastic. It's hideous. Anyway, so yeah, I didn't get to see a doctor. Hopefully today I get to see the doctor. It's just, yeah, anyway. So that's a look. So I'm having to deal with this, but let me tell you, it's not that bad to lift weights with this unless they like the two fingers go together. Otherwise, when I'm holding weights like this, I feel okay. Yeah, it's not bad, Raymond. I'm serious. Like I don't feel the pain there, but I feel the pain when the two fingers kind of.
Sure. Did you see this pull is almost definitely an attempt to troll you?
Of course. Yeah. It's Neil doing the absolute most and invoking Ram's help for that as well. So shout out to both of them.
You don't have to ask her twice to troll Sharif. You don't even have to ask her once. Honestly, you say the word Sharif and she'll be like, oh, troll?
I'm going to just play along here for, wet and giggles. I'm going to hit short Dallas Cowboys because I'm pretty peeved off with the Madeira, quite frankly.
They're doing well?
No. They won the first game, but the offense is not firing on all the cylinders. The defense is really hurting right now. We're getting, just cut up, although we were supposed to be one of the best defenses. We'll see what exactly happens, but the NFL is so unpredictable. Whoever is good this year may not be good next year and vice versa. So that's just the way it is. Take the pain, says Gary. I am, man. I am. Not even taking any painkillers, just using this Voltaren Amugel over here, no big deal. Anything you want to drop hotlines about before we start the lesson?
Yeah, really quickly, I actually have a question then. So would you say, if we're talking from a trading perspective, we know long Nvidia has been the vibe. Is long Nvidia, or sorry, I guess in my opinion, which is the better bet then, long Nvidia or short Dallas Cowboys? That's actually my question now. Because I'm wondering from a trading perspective now, right? Like if we're talking about trade,
it's a good question, Adara.
Great bet. Is short Cowboys a better
on the season or like in real
on the season? Because I know they've got like the cheerleaders and everything. I told you I watched.
Can I tell you after 5 games? So we've gone through 3. Let me answer that after 5, just so I have a bigger sample size.
I like that.
Come on, Neil, give me at least 5 games, bro.
SPCE along, trucking along. We're making higher lows on the book. We can't even get below 468 now. This can always go against me. You know what I mean? That's how things go.
Yeah,
but
basically.
You never know until you try. And I love this look. Hey, Davis saying long Nvidia apparently a better bet. I saw that and actually typed LVDA. I actually want a long Nvidia here. I'm not going to lie. I will, but I don't want to chase it. Initially, I liked it 120.70s, but I was busy watching this McKee book, which if you're going to be in an SMCI trade, especially, because I said, to be clear, I'm not no stop loss gang. I am just mental stop loss gang when it comes to this part of your tickers. And at least it's something I'm trying while I'm in the sim. As I said, I got shut down and I used a lot of risk just getting my stops run. So like that's obviously not the vibe. But I like Nvidia here. I like that 90 MA bounce, but again, I liked it better around 120.70s. I have no interest in chasing this. Actually, though, pushback. 121 Nvidia could do something for me. If we can't get above this level, look how many little wicks we've had to this level. This to me is a short and a half. I don't know why I made that ugly face, but I mean, to me, I think this gets ugly for NVDA. Now, to be clear, we did the thing that I find bullish, where you get that 120.40 bounce, and then you get it again on a double bottom on a wick basis. That is a bullish pattern. But to me, I don't know if NVIDIA's got the juice here. I mean, it's NVIDIA, it probably does. But if we get here into this 60s area, I am going to short it. I'd add if we get to 120.40s, and I'd risk it into 121s. Also, we did get half our position out here on this McKee. Like I said, I'm going to set my dip buy here to add a little piece at 467. We'll do 89s because I actually like 88s, but it's SMCI, so you want to give it a little bit of wiggle room here. I'm going to keep my stop the same because I'm averaging in, but it's going to be, I mean, for SMCI, 30 cents is kind of chump change. And when I say stop, I am still using a mental stop for SMCI, and that is only because I find I have a tendency to get horribly chopped up in these spready tickers with stops. Tesla, I was like, Tesla might hold up at 252. Tesla's like, but do I have to do that? No, Tesla, you don't. Let's see what it does here at the highly specific level of 251.42. And I say that because we've wicked there twice now. Let's find out where we go from now. Let's get into making sure you're voting for ticker exclamation point join space $ ticker. Before I pass it up back to my friend Sharif, hey, Davis saying, don't doubt yourself. You said you're feeling it, so take it. With that, yeah, I think I probably will take this NVIDIA short. I just want to watch it a bit more because that bounce off 75s I don't necessarily like. I will always, like I said, no matter how much I like a chart, I'm not going to take a trade until I see what it does on the order book. If I see something I like on the order book, that's going to give me a heck of a lot more confluence and confidence. And with that, we're going to dance over to this lesson of the day, which is, you know, on that deal pattern, what about its cousin, the variation? So we're going to talk about variations on a theme over here. Shout out to Sharif. Kill him.
All right, guys, we are talking about reversal patterns. We started talking about last week. We're going to stay with that theme this week, but we're going to talk about variations, basically different manifestations of the reversal patterns that we've already talked about to date. So by the end of this lesson, we hope to understand the concept of variations from the ideal chart patterns that we see in the textbooks to recognizing common variations like the double tops, the double bottoms, and understanding these variations and applying them to real world scenarios. So let's get right to it, baby. Let's talk about and introduce the topic for those who are joining us late and weren't with us last week. Reversal patterns or major reversal patterns such as double tops, double bottoms, heads and shoulders, inverse, heads and shoulders, triple tops, triple bottoms. You guys get it, rounded bottoms. These are all reversal patterns. They're very important in technical analysis because they signal to you a potential change in the prevailing trend. So traditionally, these patterns follow well-defined structures, but in real-world markets, these ideal patterns rarely manifest perfectly into what we see in the trading books. So traders often encounter these variations that will deviate slightly from the textbook's examples, but they still hold, even though they deviate, they still hold significant predictive power. And that's what reversal patterns are, right? They have predictive power. You see that head and shoulders, you're making the assumption, you're making the prediction that the uptrend will end. So they all have predictive power, or so the textbooks say. And even if they deviate from that perfect shape, their predictive power remains intact. So let's talk about the variations and the key concepts of these variations. So like I mentioned already, variations from the ideal pattern refers to instances where reversal patterns do not match the ideal textbook example, but still fulfill the underlying principles of reversal behavior. And John J. Murphy, that is, goes on to explain how traders can still benefit from these variations by focusing on the core attributes of the pattern rather than looking for strict adherence to shape, size, length, whatever, okay? It's not always gonna work out that way, and I promise I have examples for you in a hot second. Let's talk about the first of these variations, the one that I don't know, I feel like we say this the most. The double top, the double bottom, it seems to be the most overused, right? So these patterns often vary in height of the two peaks. That's for the double tops, or they vary in the height of the troughs for the double bottom. One peak or trough may be slightly higher, slightly lower than its counterpart. Additionally, the neckline, super important here as well, because we use the neckline for the breakout or breakdown signal. And what we've looked at in the textbooks is a neckline for the double top or bottom is usually horizontal. That's not the case in real life, man. Usually they're diagonal, whether tilting up or down. All right, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. So they usually do have a bit of a non-horizontal shape, more of an incline or a bit of a decline. So here is the example of the peaks having different heights. You can see basically over here, the left double top has a left peak, much higher than the right peak. These are basically the same height. And the third variation is where the right peak a little bit higher than the left. Same holds true for the double bottom. I'm just going to take this opportunity to remind you that double tops and bottoms are almost identical in how they form, with one exception. Double bottoms take longer to manifest. Don't know why. I'm assuming it has something to do with the accumulation that we learned about in Wyckoff's method of accumulation distribution, where big money's adding in at that low. Okay, not exactly sure, but that is statistically accurate. Double bottoms take longer to manifest than double tops. Double tops usually are V-shaped and very violent, more violent usually than double bottoms. Let's talk about the head and shoulders. right? The variations of these head and shoulders are super important. For this pattern, the variation often occurs in the size or the formation of the shoulder. In some cases, the shoulders may appear uneven, with one being significantly lower or higher than the other. And the neckline, again, super important here because it affects the timing of the breakout. And I'll show you what I mean in a second. Traders should wait, ideally, for a close below the neckline of the head and shoulders to avoid these fake out breakdowns. And there it is. Look how the neckline here in our left example, ascending. It's an ascending neckline, meaning the trough of the right shoulder is higher than the trough of the left shoulder. So when you draw the connection, you get a bit of an incline. So that changes the area where you're taking the breakdown trade. Why? Because if you were to base it on this area trough, you'd have to wait to all the way down here. When if you base it on this one, the trend line is broken right here. So the ascending or descending neckline affects the breakout or breakdown area for the head and shoulders. This is your normal neckline where it's horizontal, and this one is of the descending style. Now, I want to show you these bottom ones as well, because these ones are in the wild. The reason I want to show you these is not to harp again on the neckline angle, but to show you the different formations of the shoulder. Look at the bottom left over here. The left shoulder took much shorter of a time period, to develop than did the right shoulder. In fact, we kind of almost consolidate sideways on the formation of the right shoulder. That didn't happen in the left shoulder, so they don't look identical. Same thing is true for the bottom right corner picture over here. Look at the left shoulder, man. That thing developed over like a period of a couple of months, it looks like, based on the amount of candles that it's got over there. But when you compare it to the right shoulder, there's one wick up, man, for that right shoulder, and then it tanks. So you really need to be ready for different shapes, sizes, and all sorts of different manifestations of these patterns because they still hold that predictive power. And again, I just want to show this over here to kind of show you how skewed or, dissimilar, that's the better word, the left shoulder is as compared to the right shoulder. But it still holds true. I think most people can look at this, Adira, and say, yeah, okay, that looks like a head and shoulders. You know, it's not the perfect head and shoulders.
It's going too hard on the right shoulder in the gym. Like benching next to like 25 pounds.
There you go. There you go. Right, it's got to do some symmetry work there.
Yeah, I was going to say asymmetrical.
Mm-hmm. So that is a look there, head and shoulders. Now let's talk about the rounded bottom or the saucer pattern, whatever you want to call it. Variations of this type of pattern manifest a little bit differently. They typically involved symmetry or lack thereof in the curve that creates a rounded bottom. The rounding may not be so smooth. It can appear to be more irregular with different levels of volatility as the price moves towards a breakout. So in this case, what you might see is volume to be quite inconsistent, complicating the identification of the ideal breakout point. And here's the example, man. I mean, if you were to look at this, kind of looking at it without seeing this yellow curving line here depicting the bottom, that's what Michael Noss typically draws when he's joining us on Monday and Friday mornings, is that he draws these circular kind of rounded bottom lines below what he perceives to be a rounded bottom. But remove that. Doesn't it look like a consolidation area with this area over here being the area support and this area over here being area resistance? So unless you really inspect it a little bit more and are able to identify initially the lower lows and the lower highs, and then finally find that area in the chart where you don't print any more lower lows. In fact, the subsequent low is a little bit higher. And that is the giveaway there for the rounded bottom. Point is, you're not going to get these smooth, perfect, curved shapes. It's going to look something like this most of the time. Okay, and it's going to be incumbent upon you to be able to, recognize it. Let's talk about some filters and confirmatory techniques that can help you in identifying these variations. Let's call them. Traders should apply filters to confirm whether the variation still holds that predictive power. Volume analysis is super important here. Volume often declines as the pattern nears completion, followed though by a sharp increase once the price breaks out or breaks down. For example, a double top with a slight variation in the peak height, I should say, still holds, if it still holds the volume behavior accordingly, rising sharply after the second peak. Trend lines and support levels, super important here as well. Murphy stresses that minor variations in pattern appearance do not change the underlying psychology. The market's behavior, which is influenced by supply and demand, fear and greed, nothing we don't know, is what dictates the pattern shape. So even though it's not perfectly shaped like it looks in the textbook, the pattern is still reflecting market forces of supply and demand, fear and greed. So you needn't worry there. Some of the psychological yes, I just talked about this, so we'll skip that. Let's talk about the trading strategy, some of the practical applications for this name over here, or for this strategy. Get some water here, Ram.
So did you see who made a little cameo, as you mentioned, Rounded Bottoms? Obi is now somehow miraculously in the chat saying Rounded Bottoms? Oh boy, because he has like secret senses.
He's not even on the floor. Yeah, where is he at?
I am literally I put in the chat. I was like, how? How?
I love him. It was so funny yesterday. He's like, I was all low on his thing.
The chair was, yeah.
So I was like, oh, you look, too stressed out over here, brother. Like, are you taking too many shares or what's going on? He's like, oh, I'm relaxed. And then he got it. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he sat up. Everything was good. All right, so let's talk about some trading strategies over here. I'm going to suggest to you waiting for confirmation is super important because of the variation in the shape. So while a pattern shows variation, patience is key. Avoid entering trades solely based on partial or an imperfect pattern. Wait for confirmation, such as the break of a key support level or resistance level, and always increase volume. Stop losses, super important here as well, but a little bit of a different take here on stops. So allow me a minute. Given the potential for false signals in patterns that do not fully conform to that textbook ideal image, traders should place stop loss orders at logical points. And that's what I kind of really want to stress here. So if we were doing a head and shoulder breakdown and I was getting short on the break of the neckline of the right shoulder, where would my stop be? Well, my stop would likely be on the high of the right shoulder. But if it doesn't form so perfectly, then that may not be the best area to put it. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is the general rules for stop placement and beak wetters doesn't always hold true when there's a marked variation in the pattern. You're going to have to get a little creative where you place your stops. So I just want to make that point. And building on that point, measuring for the target move. So even in variations, the measuring techniques remains consistent. For a double top, for example, you measure the distance between the peak and the trough, and then you project it below the breakout point, right? And then that's where your first beak wetter is. So that still holds true. And just to kind of not summarize, but just to kind of give you a 1, 2, 3, 4 look at how to look at these trades. The first move is you identify that the pattern is close to completing, but not ideal. So it doesn't fit that textbook narrative. That's step number 1. Step number 2, you wait for the price to break below the support level formed at that trough or at that crest, whatever the pattern you're trading is. And then number 3, you're looking for confirmation through an increase in volume after the breakout or breakdown. So that's step number 3. Last step, step number 4, Ram, you're entering a short position or long, depending on what the pattern is, once all the confirmations are in place, and then you're measuring based on the pattern where your first beak wetter is going to be, your first profit taker, okay? So that's step 1, 2, 3, and 4 for these patterns. And just to conclude, guys, variations in the ideal patterns are common occurrence in financial markets. Understanding, though, that not all these patterns will conform perfectly to your textbook examples is essential as a successful trader, because I'm going to submit to you that very seldomly will you get that perfectly shaped textbook pattern IRL. And by applying filters like trend lines and volume analysis, you can definitely capitalize on these variations. And last but not least, mastery of this skill, identifying variations in these patterns, will help traders certainly adapt well to real world markets where these ideal patterns, Adara, rarely occur.
Yeah, they really rarely do. And that's the thing, is you've got to figure out what it can, but if it doesn't end up happening how you want it to, you have to be able to adjust that. I will speak about that, not in terms of reversal pattern, but in terms of SMCI bull flag. But guys, we do have a bond auction in 4 minutes. It is the 2-year note, so we will let you, guys will obviously give you a note on that. SMCI though, so this to me was a bull flag. I love the higher highs, higher lows. I love that To me, it is probably arguably still a bull flag as long as we stay above 467. But I got stopped out because I switched my, because, you know, with the fact that I'd added, I switched my stop to prior bar lows on the 3-minute candle. That ended up working out. I probably missed like $1 maybe of what the move could have been. But you know what? I managed the risk appropriately, and that you can always live with. Let's see, though. This SMCI getting a bit of a creep to the downside here. I want to see what we do if we get to that 467.50, because this is holding up well on that book, that's for sure. Unfortunately, this was a sim trade, but that teaches you, it's like, hey, Adara, wait for these A+ setups for you instead of, you know, chipping and chopping and doing all that random stuff. I like this PDD trade as well. I have, you know, I want to shout out Mo in the chat. I said PDD is a short, depending on what we do around 112.70. Now, I still might be early to this. I want to clarify. But to me, the book got really fatigued. It got very weak. It got like me around like 2:30 p.m. And by that, I mean really exhausted. That's what it was kind of giving me to the downside. Getting our first peak order here, 112.40, clear area of support resistance, in my opinion, based on what I see in the book. Then 112 is the area where I'm going to be taking out another piece, 112 for the players well, but also where the support resistance dwells on. Also, guys, I am not long PLTR. I got stopped out of the short, and then I think the board thought I was long. Apparently, DJT is squeezing here.
DJT.
Also, yeah, Tyler ATX saying we have to emphasize the right parts of the words. It's, oh boy. See, that's true. Like, oh boy. Shout out there. I know Opie has made a couple cameos here in the chat today, saying the reversions have him saying, oh boy, which is pretty in character. DJT, okay, I guess squeezing, but I think it's worth noting, guys, the volume on this DJT is not as squoze as it could be. I'm seeing under 100,000 shares per candle from what I'm seeing, so I just want to put that out there. Is it pushing up? Sure. Is the volume weak? Also, yes. And it is worth noting, I like that 1260 area, rejection. Support. If it holds up above 1260, that could be some decent support. But even with this push up higher, again, volume, low. High, lower high. So keep that in mind. 2 minutes till that auction. I will let you guys know if we see that re-auction. And when I get that number, everyone will be apprised. SMCI bouncing nicely off that 467. I still think this could be a super trade to the upside, but I don't want to rush. Happy with how I executed that first long. I don't want to make a mistake here. How are you doing, Sharif?
Good. I'm just looking at what Apple is doing here in the market in general. A little bit of weakness coming in here, guys, on the market. The future below 20,002 on the way. It looks like, guys, to 20,150. We'll see. It's at the 20 exponential moving average on the 5. The NQ, let's put some respect on this one's name, up 0.43. It's not negative or anything like that. And I got to tell you that all the indexes today, including the Dow, which is kind of flat, is all green. The Dow up 0.03, the Rust 0.1, the NQ, the best of them all, 0.43, and then the ES 0.13 on the day. So we're going to keep tabs on the MAG 7 right now because I'm looking for a possible bounce here, Ram. We'll see if we can get something on these right now. You've got Microsoft breaking down below VWAP. I saw Neil throw it into the chat that ARM or was at VWAP, ARM, still up 0.75%. In fact, yes, ARM did bounce, although, you know, not by that much off VWAP. Here is the look on ARM. What's going on over there, Katina Man? The Katina Man is still short on these markets. Keep that in mind. If you're not following More Trader TV, you're missing out because Katina Man and Neil's trades are on More Trader TV Live. The link is in the description, but I know the world's greatest moderator will likely throw it in the chat. Shout out to Bears versus Bulls. This is what I'm talking about, Ram. Look, a nice little move here on ARM. We go from 139 3/4 to 144 3/4, and then we're kind of halfway. It feels like here with the volume weighted average price at 142.5, finding some support. No specific catalyst today for ARM, obviously, but there is, you know, the look there with Qualcomm and Intel. Obviously, Intel competing with ARM directly now for the PC business. A lot of the PCs switching to ARM-based infrastructure as a result of the energy savings. So Intel obviously doesn't want to accept that, and they're going to be doing some stuff to try to maneuver around that. So, you know, they're maybe moving in sympathy. Who knows? But yeah, not a big move on ARM today, up 0.8. I'm watching Apple here at 227. You know, a nice rounding top, but we have some support on Apple at around 226.80. So I don't want to be jumping into this trade, but if we can get a green candle here and start making higher highs and higher lows, I wouldn't mind trying along here on some of these Mag 7 names. I was looking at the small cap gappers, and look, a lot of them they're still in play. WVE is still in play. AAOI is still in play. QH and Poet all still in play, but they're not getting that, parabolic move to the high side over here. So no real urgency to take any trades on these. They're kind of just still setting up or just increasing incrementally here. There is really nothing happening all that exciting, Adair.
I'm not seeing the bond yet, guys. Sorry, I've been watching. Also, Tampanda, to answer your question, as I wait for the bond, I will be trading the SMC 467 breakdown, absolutely, without a doubt. Based on I need to remember what levels I liked in the book in terms of where I would set my stop, but 468.50 wasn't bad. I'll keep an eye on that. But guys, I'm just waiting here to see what happens. Okay, we got the 2-year note, 3.52%. So the previous year, 3.87%. So slightly lower than expected. I'm not seeing much of a reauction here, but it is worth noting Nvidia. I was looking to short. Honestly, I stand by this earlier. I said I liked Nvidia as a short potentially, but I wanted to wait. And everyone was like, if you believe in it, take it. I agree with that. But like I said, I wanted to see some stuff I liked in the book first. I never saw what I liked in the book, so I didn't take the short. And I'm happy I didn't, because then we push above as high as 121.50s. However, I still like this as a short, but I'm still seeing higher highs on the book. And by that, I mean, before we got to around 120.75, now we can't even crack below 120.80. To get below 120.80, I'm getting hecka short this NVDA. I will take it with the viciousness, with the swiftness, with the ferocity it deserves. That's going to be a look at that. Still not short Palantir. Still not long Palantir, sorry. And still short took out my first profit taker here at 112.40, waiting for the next at 112. We'll see what happens, but I think this thing could still be curling. Happy I tried the trade. I'll be getting stopped out. If you break above 113, and I'm going to have some water. I don't know what happened there. Sorry, I became Mickey Mouse. Smicky Mouse, maybe because I've been trading SMCI. But yeah, SMCI, Tampanda, like I said, I am very comfortable. I would love to take that 467 breakdown. I don't know if it's going to manifest, though. Right now we're chopping, and I don't want to play it as a range to the downside either, because I still think this could potentially be a bull flag. Going to wait what happens. Nvidia is a short now. Everyone's saying, I agree, but you have to wait. The thing is, too, it's one thing to have, you have to have your own kind of idea, right? Because people could approach the stock, people could all be in the same stock and trade it very different ways. I remember there was that one day that you, Sean, and I all had the exact same out to the penny on Meta.
Yeah.
But we traded that trade completely different ways. I think, more scalping it. You guys have gone at a different point. So I think it's really interesting to note, every stock, you can trade the same stock and have a different approach to it. With that in mind, I like Nvidia short, but I do not like Nvidia short until or unless we get that 120.80 smackdown. How are you smacking down with that AAPL right now? Looks like you're sipping on a little bit of apple juice there.
We're waiting. My ideal goal here at Dara is a volume-weighted average price retracement into 26s. We're zigging and zagging. We got into 20s. I didn't want to wet my beak on any profits. That's not the move. We're going to give this to the candle low. So if it stops us out, it stops us out. I haven't taken too many trades today on Apple. Anything on Apple, quite frankly. So we'll look to see if this one wants to hold the area low. Zigging and zagging right now. The fuge also indecisive at this level. Doji candle showing up right now in the fuge. Nvidia, though, wowzers, man, still holding that dang 10 exponential moving average on the 5-minute chart. NVDA really not giving back much of anything, guys. 121.62 HOD. We're above 121 again, man, and we're putting in higher lows. So if you look at the last time we did touch the 10 exponential was over here at 1225, and we held it. And this over here, sure, the wick goes below the 10 exponential, but look at the closing print. Holds the 10. So it's a good look. Right now, we're going to keep our packer patience, see what Apple wants to do over here. We're 5 pennies out of the bunny after being in the money, but I'm not going to wet my beak at this level. Let's see if 227 holds. It's been holding the last little while, but I didn't even give it to below 227 strictly. I give it to the candle low, which is well below 227. We'll see if we can get a nice volume-weighted average price retracement. We don't. That's fine. Let's look at what else is moving on these here markets. We're waxing poetic about how Google was the strongest name. Obviously, that was before the big boy Nvidia pump, but it did get into a predictable level of resistance. This candle over here on GOOGL, this is the 925 candle. it takes us where? 163.20. Oh, baby. Where did we get over here? Oh, 163.22. And then what did we do after that? 162.50. So excellent level of resistance on Google. Sadly, I was not alive to this trade. Otherwise, I would have been very interested in it. But Google coming in to, so even though it did reject off 163.20, 22, whatever, it's at an interesting area currently where it's at right now, 162.50. Why? Because this is a nice little consolidation area where it looked like buyers and sellers were, at least for the moment, at equilibrium. How do I know that? Well, because they're doji candles with the top and bottom wicks basically being equidistant. In fact, you have one candle that closes yellow, which is a perfect parity between buyers and sellers on the close of that candle. So there does seem to be some support here currently where we're at right now on GOOGL. I think this is all really predicated on what the market does, right? If we sell off after this 2-year note, which is still negative, by the way, the 2-year futures contract is down 0.51. I'm talking about the 2-year yield, not the 2-year bond. Guys, there's a difference between that. Someone came at me in the chat before about that. So right now, that's what I'm keeping my eye on here. Go dead one. So the dead one is weaseling its way back into the volume weighted average price. I'm just wondering whether I should wet my beak here because the dead one looks quite dead. And guys, I'm just kidding. But when I call it the dead one, this is my biggest name. I don't mean any disrespect by it. I'm just kidding when I call Apple the dead one. It is not dead at all, but we'll see if it can weasel something, Adara, into around that 227.25 because that's where I'm waiting for the volume weighted average price. John Del Segno, JetBlue looking to break tops. Oh, baby. Let's find out what JBLU is up to on the day. Not one that I had eyes on. Here it is. All right, so what's the look right now on JetBlue? We're up 0.87. Not much in the way of volume, John. 1.46 million shares traded on the day. You can kind of even see, just by looking at the candles, that the volume is low. This is kind of what they look like. But yeah, you're not wrong, John. The IB high, 585. We broke through it, 588, and now it looks like we're using 585 generally as some support. Look at that, all the closing prints closing above or at 585. So you're not wrong, my man, but there is it's not really my cup of tea, this trade. Pack my patience, see what Apple does. Right back down to 227 again. Two topping tail candles on Apple. I don't like that look at all. I don't like that look at all right now on the 5-minute with two topping tail candles south of the volume weighted average price, but still holding 227 for now. Underline that for now. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually long Tesla here. And basically what happened was I had been staring at Nvidia for the longest time. I was like, Adara, you're not going to get the short that you want at those levels. Wait, breathe, look at other opportunities. Well, you know what sets up? You know what backs eyelashes at me? Saying, come hither, Adara. I'm here. Tesla pushes above the 90 MA. So that alone is not a reason for me to take a trade. I like the 90 MA, but that's not going to cut it for me alone. No, the reason I like this long was because I talked a lot about that 252 support. When we break up into 252, Mama wants that smoke. I cannot believe I said those words. That's what we're here to do. We're trying to keep things spicy. Again, I am in the sim today. It's funny. I saw someone in the chat, I think it was Rivian Millionaire, saying, Adara should trade every day in the sim for the entertainment value. I mean, like, whatever. I'm good with whatever, right? But I take trading really seriously. I'm not happy I got stopped out. Like I said, shut down. And I think part of it did have to do with how I'm setting my stops. I've talked about that a lot, so that's something I'm going to continue to work on and do some aggressive journaling about. This TSLA, though, don't love the bearish engulfing. I feel like a little bit, like Sharif, like what he was saying with the Apple, where some of the bearishness comes in, the bears start roaring. But I have my stop here, 250, 160s. I'm going to wait for my stop to hit. If my stop doesn't hit, I'm not leaving Tesla. And I say that because if my stop doesn't hit, then look what we still have. Higher lows with bottoming tail candles. So until I see a change in the tides there, that will be no reason for me to leave. That being said, the topping tail candle in the 5-minute, kind of ugly, but got to stick with your pattern, got to stick with your plan. I'm comfortable with this. This is a trade I would take live. This is the amount of risk I would take live. That 112 support is strong on PDD, says Mo. Oh, absolutely. And I would actually contend, Mo, it's not even just the support at 112. 112.40 has also been really spicy. So I have my profit taker, and I think that was the initial bond reauction. That's the auction reaction. For those who have not heard that particular weird pun of mine, that is what I call it. We got wicked basically into that fill. I still had another 3/4 of the position I wanted to disperse throughout the trade. And then PDD is like, oh, I'm actually going to go back to way up. Is that okay? And then I got stops at 113s. So PDD, yeah, I would say 112 very strong, but I would also say 112.40 is a level to be contend with and a force to reckon with. Some people mentioning some Intel, but you know what, guys? If you want Intel on any stock, Sharif knows where I'm going with that. Please get in the chat. Exclamation point. Join. $, that ticker. So Intel, great look here. Words I never thought I'd say. Intel, a great look. No, but if the balance of the evidence comes in and Intel's a great look, you got to deliver that verdict. Look, higher lows, higher highs. I don't know what to say. This thing's clean. I like that break up here at 2302s. To be clear, this is not moving like with the, the intensity of an Nvidia. It's trucking along, but it's a good look nonetheless. And with that in mind, I must talk about SMCI. I'm honestly happy with how I executed this. I know I got stopped out a while ago here, but I executed the trade appropriately. It's all good. The pattern, it was a bear flag clearly, a bull flag. So I was happy, the pattern ended up being correct. Happy I tried to trade it. This is a trade I would have taken live as well. And honestly, that's why I'm a little annoyed. I should have waited for this type of setup live. So I could have taken it live. But you know what? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. You live, you learn, you grow. This book still looks really bullish to me. For those who care about my book read, which might be nobody, but your local librarian here at this desk saying this book still looks. I'm seeing lots of bulls when I'm reading this picture book right now. That's the look on that. How are you doing over here on AAPL? AAPL 2?
We're okay. Got stopped out, got back in, wet my beak. So I haven't looked. I don't really look at the P&L until the end of the day, but positive on it currently. We're long 93s. We just wet our beak at, what are we wet our beak? 8s or whatever. I'm still looking for a VWAP move into a $0.25. I may not get it. I've moved up my stop to defend my entry. So if we get stopped out for the last little remain here, that will still stay positive. Well, I don't, for this position, I don't know if we're positive on the day. I have to look back. But AAPL, yeah, it's interesting. It's not doing what I thought it would be doing. Certainly, that's the look there. Amazon, I want to mention, I don't know if you had eyes on this, but Amazon's got one hell of a range here. What is going on here on Amazon?
Didn't.
What is this?
Boy.
192.90. This has been in play all day. And funny enough, it's shadowing the pivot points. And we haven't done a lesson on pivot points, and I haven't really been using them all that much. Lately, I've left them up on the charts, kind of looking at them from time to time. But this dotted green line, guys, as opposed to the solid green line. The dotted green line is the pivot point. Just a quick lesson on what pivot points are. They take 3 data points from the prior day. The high, the low, and the close. They add them together, divide by 3, we get the average, and we plot the pivot point. So that's the dotted green line. Off this dotted green line, we can then create new lines of support and resistance. Support level will be the red line right there. That's first support. You get two resistance with pivots. You get the first one, which is red. The first one, which is support, is red. The first one, which is resistance, is this baby blue, aqua blue, however it appears on your screen. Then if you zoom out a little bit more, you get that dark blue and that orange. That's support level 2 and resistance level 2. So Amazon, very much respectful of whatever this level is, a pivot point 182.85, 182.90 or thereabouts. So we'll see if the Amazon wants to continue to do this on the day or whether it wants to break free from that resistance level. Apple still above 227. I'm not going to take anything out, nor am I going to, do anything unless I get stopped out or I get my beak wet at 23s. Shout out to the OJ Jordan. Where's VWAP? I may need to adjust that. That's wrong. 19s. So I'm going to adjust that for VWAP. So we're going to look to take it out at 17s, because what's life without whimsy? See if we can, that's basically front-running VWAP, because right now VWAP on my chart's at 19. So that was the original trade, to try to take it back into VWAP. If VWAP is a dynamic level, obviously it's not static. So as the price changes, so does the volume weighted average pricing. You have to adjust your orders to account for that. Back into 10s we go here on AAPL, still up 0.25%. Not the biggest mover on the day, Dara, but certainly not too bad either. We're gonna pack our patience with this one over here. What else we got going on? What are you guys looking at? Throw it in the chat. I'd love to see. All right, there's my man Gaurav. Meta with a strong candle right at VWAP. You are not wrong, my man Gaurav. They're always charting up storms and messaging us in the chat. Only thing, Gaurav, is that the candle on Meta didn't quite make it down to VWAP. It really defended kind of what it looks to be, Gaurav, at 561. Even though you get a wick below 561, quick as you like there, it goes to 560.87. Look where VWAP is, 560. This one kind of was $1 almost, 60 some odd pennies higher than VWAP. But your point is well taken. Why? Because the higher low pattern, whatever, is in play on Meta. Now, my only addition to your analysis there, Gaurav, is that Meta has rejected the closing print pretty well today. The closing print from yesterday, 564, around 50. It looks like it's 40 something, all right? But look what it did there. Popped up, 1125 reject, 1130 reject, 1150 reject, 1155 reject, 1215 reject, 1220 reject, and then we move down. So even though we have a higher low, I want to put some respect on this resistance level's name. 564.50 or thereabouts. Meta did reject off there. And by the way, that 564.50, not that I like to place too much emphasis on what the Mag 7 does in the pre, but that was a consolidation area low. So the Meta was whiffling and waffling here, essentially with 564.50. Yesterday's closing print as support this morning. Does support flip to resistance on this particular occasion. Oh, baby, we just got the print on the dead one, Adara, AAPL, and I suck as usual because, reason, I moved down my beak wetter to 17s. I moved it down from the OG 23. Shout out to Jordan, because that's where VWAP was originally. I moved it down to 17s. It ends up breaking that. It's at 26s or 27s. So true to form, I suck, but we'll hope to do better next time.
I am pleased as punch for you. I will say, I'm pleased as apple punch. Like a nice little apple, I don't know, apple mocktail, I don't know. Anyways, Tesla, no mock in this one. Horrible transition, but I love this long as of right now. No emotion, just I like the chart's a good look. So now, Tesla, I don't want to move my beak water either, but I think I have this at just shy of 250, 250s. We clearly kissed this beak water, but then we like flirted with it and we like had to run home, you know. It's clearly what happened here with this price action. Look at the of that level, and then we push lower. So you know what that tells me? That tells me this is an area people want to be. So I'm not moving my beak water. I think if we push above this level, I think it's going to be a dope look. Also, now what's my plan for this trade? So I'm not taking out everything here. I'm taking out a percentage. I'm taking out for 40%. And I will add, if we come back to like 215 to 250, 220s, if we get back to 215s, I will be long gone out of Tesla. But 250, 220s, I like that look. Also, PLTR, I am not currently long. Like I said, that I ended up getting stopped out. But I'm trying to actually get long Palantir here, to be clear. So why do I like Palantir long here? I mean, so that was clear support, clear resistance earlier. We wick above it. Let's see if resistance forms to support. I'm going to be risking here into 60, so I'm not going to be risking a lot. And the reason I have two little areas of entry set is I mentioned this earlier. I find, like, so for whatever reason, I have more buying power in the sim than I do live, but I can take like whatever amount of shares within my buying power when I'm live, right? So depending on the stock, if it's like a cheaper stock, I can take X number of shares as long as I haven't gone over my buying power. On the sim, I can only take a certain amount of shares. I don't know why that is. So, but what I find is if you have it set up before anything fills, then it'll let you take more shares. I don't understand why that is, but I'm going to play with the system that has been given to me. So with that in mind, PLTR, we're going to see, I think 69s and 70s are my areas that I'm looking for entry here. We'll see what happens for PLTR. Then I would be looking to take some profits. If we get into 3690s, that would be the look. Let's see what happens over here on this market. But you know what else is worth noting in the market is, you know, trading the pool. So becoming a funded trader means trading with the firm's money instead of your own. And at the trade the pool, what you'll do first is you will hit profit targets while managing risk. And then once you pass that, you get access to up to $260,000 in buying power. That's 260,000 smackaroons. Go that. And you get to keep up to 80% of your profits, and the firm will cover the risk. So basically what this is a perfect way to trade big without risking your own moolah. Are you ready to become a funded trader? I know you guys all are. So you know what you do? What? You join Trade the Pool, and you get to see this lovely bearded gentleman by the name of Michael, who was on our show last week. Michael. Shout out to M Cats over there, making some M cash. That is for darn sure. Okay, Palantir, we got filled. I'm going to set my stoop, which is going to be at 3660s. Also, I want to clarify, like I said, I'm kind of trying to pivot to using mental stops. Again, for my spready stocks. If a stock has a tight, like if you're talking a Tesla, like most Mag 7s with the exception of Meta or Microsoft, if you're talking a Palantir, I will be using hard stops. But I found that using hard stops and anything with even a bit of spread just horribly chops me up. And like I said, I got shut down today, and a lot of that is I lost way more than I wanted to on coin, and that it is just because the stop didn't hit where it was supposed to. So that's that on that. Tesla getting a bit of an oogle candle. So we're gonna have to see if we stay above the 90 MA. I'm cool staying in this trade. I'm gonna get that lesson set up here, Sharif. But I want to hear what you are looking at on this here market.
Well, I mean, we can't disappoint Rogelio Concepcion. He wants that beak wetter animation, Adara.
Also, yeah, sorry, I see text in the chat. I apologize. This is just I have a bit of a boisterous level of volume. I talk like this. I do apologize for that, and I do not apologize for wetting my beak.
Nope.
And I do not apologize for still being in Tesla, actually, because it's still bouncing off 250, 220s, and I'm going to actually do the beak wetter animation one more time, Sharif, in the hopes that Tesla will hear me and be like, oh, we could. Actually, sorry, I did get my beak wetter in Tesla. I apologize for bullying you, Tesla.
Oh,
I accidentally.
You didn't get rinsed on that.
I didn't.
Like
I meant to press the beak wetter.
Yeah, okay.
You're right. I didn't get rinsed. I got lightly doused with profits. Got my beak rinsed.
Vic Yan Novak, I like where you're going with this, Vic. He's voting for Tesla.
Oh.
So Adara's in Tesla. The Katina Man and the Neil have very strong feelings on Tesla. I can tell you that for a fact. Get into the chat right now and vote for your favorite ticker every day. You only have about half an hour left. The big kahunas, Neil and Sean, they will look at the top 5 tickers that make it on. So here's how you do it. That is the code right there, ! join, space, $, and the ticker of your choice. Don't feel obligated like you have to vote for a mega cap or a Mag 7. All tickers are accepted, including futures contracts. So get into the chat. Please vote every day and have your friends vote your way as well, or your friends in the chat, because only the top 5 make it on. So if you want your stuff analyzed by the big kahunas, you're going to have to make an effort. Simple as that, okay? So that's the way it is there. Adira, let's bring in the small cap gapper charts over here. Have a look at what's what. All right, AAOI still doing real good, man. WVE still doing well. Poet, QH, they're all still in play. They're not parabolic in the same way that they were earlier on when they had the more liquidity there, but they're still above VWAP, still very much near highs. How do we play these? Well, I can tell you first and foremost, Poet, range per candle, much wider than the others. So if you're going to trade Poet, account for that wider range per candle. It's got to influence both your stop loss and your profit taker. Think about that. My initial assessment of Poet is initially it was very respectful of that 10 exponential moving average on the 5. That's during the more liquid time of day. Then we got that big boy flush. That big boy flush brought us into VWAP, and it also brought us into that, I want to call it a triple top, but the rest of yesterday's lesson tells us that's not the case. 510, we kept rejecting off this 510 area. We clear it to 560. Look where we hold up. Jeez Louise, 510 on the dot. We move back up into the $0.50, but we lose respect for that 10 exponential. We're not bouncing off there anymore. Look where we are though. It looks as if the 20 now has filled the place of the 10. I don't know. I want to see this higher low situation continue. 537 right now, we're at 535 where it's currently trading. This could be a good entry on Poet. Let's go. Let's weasel our way into Poet and come what may. Let's, You're
going to wax poetic?
I am, right? Hopefully it won't wax me or won't rinse me. Poet, P-O-E-T. I believe it trades on the NQ. There it is. So the spread, 1 penny spread, not too bad, Katina Man, not too bad. We're gonna weasel our way in here, Katina Man. We're gonna do this. Yeah, we're gonna do this. And here's the deal. We're gonna put it below the area low. The area low is 533. Okay, so we're gonna give it to 530, and then we're gonna get out here. Okay, so where are we long? We're along 40. We're printing 41s on the ask. What's a reasonable price here to wet our beak with some profits? Well, let's see where it's rejecting off. Okay, well, you have multiple wicks, sure, that breach $0.50, but where are the majority of the closing prints holding up at? 48s, 50s, thereabouts. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I think 50 is a reasonable target to get some out there. So we're going to hang out at that level. There's the beak wetter already in place. Let's see if we can weasel up. We just printed 46s, bruh. Let's move up a little bit more. So in Poet, looking for that move up, that respect at least what we've seen for the 20 exponential on the 5, 20 exponential moving average, excuse me, on the 5. If I can get something around that $0.50, I'll be pleased as dang punch. What else we got over here? Michael G says short Nvidia here again. Let's have a look at what the monster Nvidia is doing. I don't know, Michael.
I'm gonna say
Yeah, Michael, look, bro, if you're short here, I hope you print. I never want to go against one of our viewers printing. But what I see personally, Adara, is us holding the 10 exponential respectfully, and the higher lows and higher highs are still in play. So where is Obi? Obi, are you in the chat? Tell us, my man, where do you see the reversion, the mean reversion on Nvidia? Ob, if you're still there, are you looking for a mean reversion on Nvidia? This thing's up 4 almost and a third. Well, more actually, almost 4.5. So let me know. If Ob's in the chat, let me know there. Obviously, Michael, we hope you print, but I just happen not to agree with you on that. But maybe Nvidia does sell off after. We showed you on the 12th, it sold off. I think on the 19th, it breached 120, it sold off. So maybe that pattern holds, who knows? Jensen was selling, who else was buying, baby? Oh, I know, everybody. Everybody's buying Nvidia, right? Yeah, that's a look. Neil, is your barber asking you about Nvidia, or is he still asking you about crypto? It's a physio now. Okay, so it's moved on from the barber to the physio. Yeah, I think it's like an informal kind of gauge that we have on this desk. It's like, who's asking what? If your barber is asking you about it, then, it might be time to sell. We don't actually mean that. We're just joking when we say that. But it's just, that, what's that kind of, it was in John J. Murphy's book. It's, there's like a theory behind this. It'll come to me in a second. But in any event, it looks like we got the lesson.
We do have the lesson. Also, guys, just to update, I am actually long Palantir now at that position. We just got stopped out at Tesla. I used prior bar low, so still took 30 pennies on that. Again, 30 paper pennies because I am in the sim. Also, Nvidia, I will just say one more. I don't know if anyone cares about my levels, but Nvidia's making higher lows in the book. Last time, we couldn't even break below 121. So I still think that thing is strong unless or until we break below 121 and then 120.80. But we're going to break into right now, Sharif. We're going to wax on Poetic.
Okay.
Best of luck in your trade on Poet.
Thank you.
About variations from the ideal pattern, because you know what you're going to get more often than a perfect textbook pattern?
What?
Is a pattern like a little slumpy shoulder.
Okay.
A little bit of like maybe the head's a little shrunken. Maybe the bottom is not as round as you might like it to be, no matter how many times that pattern goes to the gym, right? So all of this is to say that it's more likely you'll see a bit of a wonkier version of some of these patterns. So how do you know what to deal with this? What do? We'll tell you. So this lesson, shout out to John J. Murphy, is going to help you basically explore the practical applications and the understanding of some of the funkier versions of these patterns. So basically these major reversal patterns are going to include double tops, double bottoms, heads and shoulders, and they're going to be really important in technical analysis because they can give you a potential sign of change here in the prevailing trend that makes you say, oh boy, shout out to our local reversion trader over here. So traditionally these patterns are going to follow defined structures, but that's just traditionally, okay? In the real world of these here markets, Sharif, in the wild of these here markets, dare I say, these patterns are not going to occur perfectly. They're not going to be textbook. That's why we call it textbook, right? Rarely are you actually going to see those patterns form how you necessarily would like them to. So traders are more often than not, they're going to see a version of the pattern that kind of is a little uncanny valley. It's almost there, but it's not quite. There's something a little bit amiss. So what do you do when it's amiss? We'll tell you. Because these still can have some predictive power, Shout out to PLTR and ORCL. So let's talk about some of these variations from ideal patterns. Basically, this term refers to instances where you have a reversal pattern that doesn't quite match the textbook, okay? But it still does fulfill the underlying principles of reversal behavior. So it might not be like, oh, you got that measurement of that shoulder, blah, but you have the general idea where you have this formation and then you see a change in the tides, as my pal Sharif might say.
Yes, ma'am.
So John J. Murphy, how JJM says it, long JJM, is that traders can still benefit from these variations, but what you have to do, instead of focusing on the perfect textbook formation of the pattern, you want to focus on the core attributes of said pattern. So you're not going to adhere strictly to the form, you're going to more adhere to its function. So let's talk about the double top and the double bot. I like how you put the top bot. So these patterns are going to often vary in terms of the height of the peaks for double tops or troughs for the double bottoms. One peak or trough might be slightly higher or lower than the other, and your neckline might not be horizontal, but it might be inclined or declined. And keep in mind, the neckline is one of the key areas in terms of where you're going to enter or exit this position, right? So that's pretty key. And these variations can lead to different breakout conditions, and you must watch for confirmation signals beyond just the shape. Also, I am not JJM, but one thing I've noticed that I've talked about pretty extensively with regards to double top and double bottom, I have found they're generally more bullish. Like, I guess that the side of a move to the upside is stronger for me to double bottom if the second bottom actually you wick into that level, but then you close higher. Because to me, that's even like more. You got a bottoming tail candle in the double bottom area. Same with if you get a topping tail candle in your second top. I found that, right? I'm not JJM.
Good observation.
But that's something I've noticed. So the point I'm trying to make is there's different ways these things can manifest. Appreciate that, Sharif. So here's some variations of double top. Oh, RIP my mic. So the first one here, you've got a lower high on your double top. So the second peak does not quite have the penetration of the previous peak. So in this case, you could also argue, hey, lower high, we're still going to go to the downside, and it would work. Once we break below that neckline, you know that might be good to go. In this case, you have the more traditional, quote-unquote, standard, quote-unquote, textbook double top. They both hit. You break below that area. Now, this is a little fun, fancy, free one. You have a higher high in your double top, but you break below your level, right? Then you come up a retest. Then you make a lower high, and we to the downside. Down. But let's talk about some double bottom variations. It's going to be the same kind of thing, right? You might have a higher low, in which case it would still probably be pretty bullish anyway. You might get a traditional double bottom, or you might get a double bottom that's a bit bamboozling. You'll get a lower high, then you push up higher, make a higher high, and then you'll start continuing in that pattern. Now, let's talk about the variations of the head and shoulders and the knees and the toes. So these variations are going to often, again, not always, but if you're going to find a variation here, it might have to do with the size of the formation of the quote-unquote shoulders. So they might appear uneven. One of them might be broken, significantly higher or lower. They might be working out more or less on one side. The neckline might be sloped, and that can impact the timing of the breakout. And you guys know that we talk about this a lot. The neckline is going to be key here, right? So if the neckline's a little bit askew, that can impact what you do. So you want to be aware, and what you might want to wait for here is a close below the neckline. That can help you avoid a fake out. So here's some examples here, right? In every chance you're going to see here, oh, we've got a little bit of an askew neckline. Wait to sell till you get the retest of the neckline. Break below the neckline, that's when you sell. It doesn't matter if it's up, down, sideways. Your shoulders should be a little wonky. The best way to wait is to see that break below the neckline. So I like these patterns. Thank you so much to Sharif for putting together these lessons every day. I think this is a really key example. This is also a different one. So you have higher highs, right? You get your head, you pull back here, right? Same level, same pullback. Then you get your right shoulder a little bit higher. But you're still going to wait to see that below that level. This level is what matters. The neckline doesn't matter, like you guys can, like breaking a neck, that's what can be fatal, right? So as long as your neck is not broken, this uptrend can still be in effect. When you break below that neckline, RIP that uptrend, and hello to your short. So let's talk about the variations of the rounded bottom. I feel like I'm just ready for Obi to magically appear, because last time we said rounded bottoms, he weirdly appeared. It was some kind of weird beckoning signal that I don't understand. So maybe shout out to Obi, I don't know. But variations of this pattern are usually going to have to do with the symmetry of the curve. So the rounding might not be smooth, right? It might not be a perfect rounded bottom. It might be more irregular. There might be, curves and edges. There might be different levels of volatility as the price moves towards the breakout. And you might have inconsistent volume. So we talked a lot about the volume on the rounded bottom being key. It kind of peters out as we start the selling. And then when the buying comes, it starts escalating as we get that round, that whoop, to the upside. So that, if you have a bit of volume issues, that can complicate the perfect idea of that rounded bottom. So, man, here you go. So you have your rounded bottom here, right? This is a traditional one. You've got your higher volume as you push higher and volume diminishing near the bottom. Then you want to see your push above the neckline. Again, all of these, you're going to see proof. No matter if the pattern's a little wonky, wait for the neckline. Have you broken the neck? If not, the existing trend might still be alive. So let's talk about some filters here and some confirmations. So traders should be looking for some filters to confirm whether the variation holds predictive value. By that, I mean filtering aspects of the pattern. Volume analysis, for example, right? So you're often going to see a pattern nearing completion, volume declining, and then you get a sharp increase once the breakout or breakdown occurs. For example, a double top that has a slight variation in terms of its peak height could still hold if the volume behaves accordingly. So if you've got your rising intensely after the second peak. Trendline and support levels are key here too. They can serve as useful tools in confirming variation. So if you've got the price breaking a support level after the formation of an imperfect double top, that can give you a sign that reversal might still be there. Psychological factors are huge too, and I want to shout out JJM for always talking about the psychology of this market. So JJM says that these minor variations, they do not change the underlying psychology. Psychology is still the same, right? We've got the reversal, the change in the tides, as my pal Sharif might and often does say. That's how we do it, right? You know, the tides are rinsing you around. And so the market's behavior is still, right, like influenced by supply, influenced by demand, influenced by greed. I'm just going to get out some of my Palantir here. We're going to take out a fifth of that position. And if you've got the price here breaking a support level after that formation, oh wait, sorry, I'm reading the wrong part. So a double top that slightly deviates from the ideal form, it might not be like as pretty as a double top you want, right? But it's the double top you get. And it still shows what you're looking for in a double top. And by that I mean buyer exhaustion and potential seller dominance. That's what you're looking for. So let's talk here about trading strategies with regards to pattern variations, right? Like how do you do that? How do you make that work? So when you've got a pattern showing variation, you want to be very patient. Avoid entering trades just based on your partial or imperfect pattern. You want to make sure you have your confirmation. For example, the break of a key support or resistance level, and you want to see your increased volume. Maybe use a stop loss as well. So given that there are potential false signals in these patterns that don't fully conform to your norm, they're not connorming, you want to maybe place your stop loss at a logical point, right? Still think of the psychology. At what point psychologically does this pattern hold up, or does it stay kaput? That's what you want to look for. So for example, if you've got a double top variation,
was that a pun?
You might
was that a pun?
Kaput! It was not a pun.
I thought that was definitely on purpose coming from you. That's why, right?
I appreciate that. That was a good one, Sharif. Thank you. And that's like that day that I made an accidental Amazon Prime pun, and you and Neil were both like, how did you not know? But anyways, so for example, if you got a double top variation, right, where you might want to place the stop loss, could be slightly above the second peak, because that would still be guarding against a sudden bullish resurgence, which is psychologically what you're trying to do. So even if you've got variations here, in terms of measuring the target move, you're still going to want to measure it the same way. Your ruler is still the same, right? Even though the thing you're measuring might be different in terms of scale. So for a double top, you're still going to want to measure the distance between the peak and the trough. And then you're still going to want to project that distance downward from the breakout point to determine a potential price target. So how do you trade this practically? One, you want to identify the pattern that is close to completing, but it's not quite perfect. It's not, it's not 100%.
I wrote idea, but I meant ideal. Sorry, typo. My mistake.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, my mistake. Yeah.
I didn't even notice it because we were.
I didn't even notice it till the third time around.
Well, yeah, it's not idea either. It's not the main idea. I like you make it work. You also want to wait for that price to break below the support level that is formed by the trough. Then, step 3, you want to look for confirmation. And how are you going to get the confirmation, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. You want to see increase in volume after your breakout, because that shows the buyers or sellers have arrived. And then last but not least, you want to be entering the short position once the confirmations are in place. Once you have your measurement move targeted. And once you got your stop loss above the second peak. Hashtag stop loss gang. So to conclude, variations in ideal patterns are very common. The market is not going to be all textbook. It's going to be wild. It's going to be wavy. It's going to make you pull out your hair. And understanding that you're not always going to have perfect conformity in the patterns, that can be really key to be a successful trader, right? The market's not always going to be singing Stick to the Status Quo from High School Musical, right? Sometimes you're going to be singing the songs they sing at the end when everyone's like, doing whatever they want to do. Weird analogy, but I did it and I stand by it. So by applying filters, like looking for the psychological elements you still want to see, looking for volume, everything like that, that's what you want to be looking for here. And that can help you focus on the key elements and not getting distracted by the fact that it's not a beautiful, perfect pattern. And the mastering the skill can help you adapt to real-world markets where ideal patterns really occur. I want to shout out Sharif for the slideshow.
Thank you, dear.
Dope look. I really appreciate. Thank you so much for putting these lessons together every darn day. Palantir also working well, but for some reason it won't let me get out. I'm confused. We'll deal with that. How are you doing?
Good. I'm getting lulled to sleep here in Poet. I've been long 540. The reason I'm not getting out here, come on, print me, bro. It just popped up while I was talking 548. That's where I've been waiting, bro. The ask is at 548, but the bid did not move up. Now we're printing 49s. Just print me. please. Let's wait over here. I've been waiting at 40. Okay, so it's 49s I was waiting at, not 48s. That's why I didn't get the print. Okay, so this was lulling me to sleep, but the fact that it did not break the 20 exponential on the 5 and it respected that kept me in the trade. But it looks as if I will go unfilled and I'll have to pack more patience because the level at which I'm waiting did not trigger. We're still at 47s, but the bid is now dropping and the spread between said ask and said bid is opening up. And that isn't good for me. We're still 47s right now. I'm going to let this one do its thing, 21. I would have liked the print at 48s. Alas, I was not there, and there we got it. Pumped about that. Nice trade right now on Poet. Looking for more. There is bigger size at the $0.50. From what I can see here, there's about a few hundred lots on all the gateways. This one on the NASDAQ gateway keeps disappearing. NSB is still on there. 107 lots both. Now, when you see 107 lots, identical size on two different gateways, I'm going to suggest to you that that's the same seller posting on different gateways. That's kind of what I think there. And it's like 107 is kind of a random number to have. And having two gateways with that exact same size makes me feel that's the same seller. And I wanted to mention something else too. There is like software out there now that will kind of pick up on patterns about sell orders. So here's what I mean by that. Let's just say, for example, we were trading Apple at $220 and there was resistance at $220.50. But that resistance was layered. Let's just say the first the first big order was sitting at that $0.50. Then there was a bigger and even or an equally sized order at 60. And then another equally sized order at 70. So layering their outs. So you've got 3 sell orders there at starting at the $0.50 and layering all the way up to 3/4. Let's say Apple rejects 220, okay? And now it's using 219 as resistance. If that order at the $0.50 that's spaced by 10 cents each for the same size moves down, not from 220.50 anymore, but 219.50, the software picks up on it. And it will tell you this is likely the same dude or whoever that was sitting at 220.50 layering his orders. Now he's hanging out at 219 layering his orders. It's not impossible for you to pick up on that looking at the level 2, but it's a lot harder. Because you're gonna have to pick up on the tape and you're gonna have to be able to read the tape and analyze it super quick. But the software actually does that for you because that's what people do, right? You're short by something or you want to get out of a position on something, so you're layering your orders in the exact same way. You're just moving it down or moving it up. So I love that kind of software. I'm exploring to see whether or not we can bring it on here and use it. And who knows? Maybe we'll end up getting sponsored by them. The reason I brought up this whole spiel is because I saw that 107 order sitting at the $0.50. That 107 was layered and it was on 2 different gateways. So to me, that made me suspect that was that same seller just posting on different gateways for different reasons. There's a whole bunch of reasons why he would want to do that, or they would want to do that, or she would want to do it, whatever. Okay. So I just want to go into that spiel, and I still think it's I still think it's a solid way to kind of be able to gauge who's selling, and if the price action comes down, that same seller, I want to know if that same seller is moving down with the price, and that's kind of what that does. So anybody knows what I'm talking about, tag me. Let me know if I'm a little bit off or that's actually what the software does. Everybody know. I think if you know what I'm talking about, you're going to know which software I'm talking about. So that is the look there. Let's have a look at, we do have an algo room, Jay. We do. Right back there. Oh, who was that was asking about the algo room? Was that Jay? No.
I think it's Rivian Millionaire.
Rivian Millionaire. Yeah, you guys have an algo room. Yes, we do. Yes, we have traders that are just exclusively trading algos back there. Usually they're gone by 1 or 2 o'clock. Usually the orders that they execute are a little bit earlier. But yeah, we absolutely have an algo room, and we have multiple algo traders. They exclusively trade using algos. Obviously, you're going to have some programming background, or you're going to have somebody write it for you. Most of them, though, I do believe they actually write Python, C++, C#. They're pretty good at everything. I know Joe, shout out to Jose, He's writing. He's not in the algo room, but he's always writing up different codes to connect with our API. So I just want to do this right now, obviously, Ram, because we're sponsored by Real Trading. And I want to let you know that Real Trading, their software is the software we're using right here. It's called Pro 8, Adara. And guess what this software allows you to do? It allows you to connect to the API so you can have your own executions. You can go back and back test using the data, everything. So shout out to Real Trading, the best prop firm, I should say, around these parts. Now, Poet is breaking down below my entry. It is still respecting the 20 exponential, so I'm going to give it a little bit of room. If it breaks below 534, it's all over. So that's my trade there. I've only got one beak wetter left. What are you doing there over there?
Yeah, I mean, I want to shout out Pro 8, but also Pro 8, I would like to ask you, why can I not sell my Palantir? It literally will not let me sell. I tried to get a beak wetter set here, Sharif, and it's like, oh no, actually, you've exceeded your maximum position. Which, like, fine, whatever, but you guys have already given me the shares. So at this point, why won't you let me get rid of some of the shares? So with that in mind, I resorted to taking profit using stops, because that is the only thing it will let me do. With that in mind, I took out 25% of the position. I would have liked to take out 20%, but alas, that's how I just had to stop at VWAP. Now, I've been trying to use prior bar lows, so obviously I am one behind, but I did take out 25% of the position at that prior bar low. I have the rest saved for this other prior bar low at 81. Also, what is my average? Because I'm not sure it's 36.70. Yeah, so it's 36.69 is my average position. So it's slightly a skosh, couple cents above there or below there, that one in the thing. Also, you guys have 3 minutes left to vote for your ticker. Shout out to Real Trading. They do sponsor the segment. They also give us Pro 8, which is our, it's a pro trading software. Get in the chat. Exclamation point.
Join.
Space. $. Or as Sharif sometimes says, shift 1. You know what I mean? Join, space, shift 4, $, right? So get in that chat, let us know what is making you tick, what tickers are getting to you. Also,
have you looked at some of these Chinese? I know you were in PDD.
I was just going to talk about PDD.
Adara, these things are like at highs, and we know these Chinese ADRs usually give up the ghost midday.
I know. Well, I was just going to say, Sharif, thank you for this. Is a crazy, that's confluence there mentally. OBU there, no, I'm joking. Because I was literally just going to say PDD. I want to shout out Mo, because I was talking to Mo. Mo was like, 112 support at PDT. I agree. But like I said, to me, I actually am cool trying to short this again, even if it just breaks below 112.40. Because 112.40, to me right now, that has been the higher low. We've been ranging, we've been chopping, we've been churning it. It hasn't given you much of a range. It's giving you like a 30 penny range. On something that moves as wildly as PDD, that's not going to be enough to get me out of bed in the morning, right? I want a little bit more action. I want a little bit more intrigue. I want a little bit more spice. Call me crazy. Shout out to Sharif. But I would be getting short of get to 112.40. I'd be risking into 112.70s. Let's see what we see in PDD, but that to me would be the look. If I am to take a trade here as we get to the end of the midday, that would be the trade I take. Visa, says Stacks. Yeah, Visa I was looking at, and this is one of the ones that, like I said, I need to figure out how to set my stop, so I'm getting a little bit less slippage there because there's a bit of slippage here. But yeah, so PDD, hard to the downside, but we talked about double bottoms, right? And I said I sometimes find it more bullish when you get your second bottom here on a wick basis, because that means, hey, this level is so important. We're just wicking into it. Like, we're just like showing, hey, we're just gonna bounce like a trampoline. If we get above this 276, like, I like the 276.10s. Get above that level, to me, that shows me, hey, the bulls are in full effect. The bulletin board has switched, and we're long. That's what I'm looking for here for Visa. At that point, I might, try to put my credit card in that ATM to get some shing to the upside. I would go probably longer on that 276.10 if that occurs. Awesome chop fest for SPY, says Alex Davis. Yeah, the SPY has been choppy. You're right. I usually look at the SPY more than I do, but today, a little rangy, but not in a way that I find particularly, I was going to say not a way I find interesting. They get that pushback.
You looked so uninterested there for a second, then you got very interested.
Right? Also, speaking of things that are kind of rangy in both, like SMCI trying to break below 476, as I said to Tan Panda earlier, and I had this thought anyway, 467, I will absolutely short SMCI if it breaks below 467. But SPY, you're kind of doing something SPY looks shockingly similar to the SMCI chart, so I'll pull them up. SPY, bit of a bull flag, clear support for 570.40, resistance 570.90, but for the SPY 50-cent range, that's not really how I like my eggs in the morning. SMCI, though, looking very similar, though the range is a bit choppier, in my opinion. If we get below 467.50, short, I add at 467. I risk into 468.50. To me, that's a trade I like. Let's see what happens there. PLTR, we have a new prior bar low, so I will be moving my stop on Mr. Carp, and I'm going to start carping. I'm going to stop carping over here. How you doing over here?
Good, Adair. I was just looking at Microsoft again. We had a couple of good trades on Microsoft to start the afternoon, and then I saw this. This is what I saw. I just want to show this, Ram, without showing the other context. This is what I saw, and given the fact that we've been talking about reversal patterns for the last week and a half, I personally saw a head and shoulders formation in the making. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, right? That's what I saw in a very narrow, restricted view. But then I opened up the chart and I saw this. Is this the trend that we expect before a head and shoulders? Who can tell me? No, it is not. Why? It's a reversal pattern, right? So what is it reversing? The trend that preceded it. So what does the trend have to be for us to reverse? It's got to be an uptrend. So, this is just a lesson in context, right? Keeping your eye on the pattern, the trend that preceded the pattern. Always got to look at that. And this is the perfect case right here because I had my narrow goggles on. I'm like, oh my God, head and shoulders, Microsoft, I got to get short. Then you open it up. It's like, no, that ain't it. Sure, it can look like a head and shoulders, but doesn't mean that it's going to act like one, nor is it actually reflecting the market dynamics that take place in a head and shoulders because there's no uptrend that preceded, there's no reversal, there's no shift in sentiment from bullish to bearish. So I just wanted to point that out super quick. Whether that pattern ends up manifesting to the downside is completely separate and apart from whether it's a head and shoulders or not. So good luck right now on Softy trying to hold up here, but this is really what's keeping my attention. The unbelievable power, consistency. Nvidia, it hasn't given up the 10 all morning. Look at the respect on that green line. It just hasn't given it up. So I don't know. The thing though, Adira, is are we far enough away from 120 with this 121.80 top to say, all right, now that we've cleared 120 as that level of resistance, we come back to use 120. I don't know if we've gotten far enough away from it. Adara just finished doing the lesson, and one of the things she was showing you guys was a head and shoulder neckline breakdown. And she was showing you how that neckline came and got retested. Once it broke down, it popped back up, rejected off that area of previous resistance. So we know that resistance flips to support and vice versa. But you got to get enough away from it. That's the thing. So again, I'm still biased on Nvidia on the day. I haven't changed my bias. The bias is that 120's been giving up the ghost. It gave up the ghost on the 12th. It gave up the ghost on the 19th. I don't know. And the thing is, it didn't give up the ghost right away. It whiffled and waffled at highs, and then it gave up the ghost in the afternoon on the Big Kahuna show. So I'm not going to be here for that, but I'm going to be all eyes and ears and checking my phone to see whether Nvidia does actually retrace below 120. We'll see. We'll see, but that's what it's done the last few days, or not last few days, excuse me, last few weeks. NVDA, great look. Oh, baby, Poets breaking the $0.50. All right, so I'm happy with this trade, Adara, because I didn't paper hand the trade like I typically do once it breaks down from the lows and the highs. This is where I'm getting out. Sayonara, see ya, Poet. There's only about 6 minutes left on the show. I don't want to be nursing you at the big boy screen, but I'm happy with how I traded today. I was not happy with how I traded yesterday, and I'm just happy to get a double under my belt. What are you looking at?
I have to say, that is an image I cannot unsee, the idea of you nursing.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
It's okay. No, I just
Touch
pictured
my
that.
Broken finger.
Oh, I honestly, like, what I was going to say, we accidentally brush hands a lot. I was not, and then you were like, that's my broken finger. And I was like,
Are you as disgusted by it as Ram is?
okay, no, honestly, I'm not, because like I said, I had a really bad finger break that, like, you know, like it still can't really do full things. So
oh, crap.
I get it. Yeah, literally today, I was like dragging a suitcase, and I had to literally have my hand positioned so it looked like I was flipping the bird, because if I put any anything on that hand, you know what I'm like, yeah,
I know.
any pressure on the handle, then it hurts. So I just was like flipping everybody off as I was walking because I was like, this is the only way I can hold this thing without being in pain.
is
So
jokes.
I understand hand injuries. You know what else I understand?
What?
SMCI does not want to give up 468. We tried. I said 467.50 short. I think we went to like 467.60s on the bid. We come all the way back up to 468s. This thing doesn't want me to short it. That's cool. I'll wait. PLTR though. Now, P-Pro 8, someday you're going to have to let me sell these shares. I mentioned P-Pro 8 weirdly will not let me offload any of my Palantir unless I do it through stop losses, so that's fun. I wouldn't like to get stopped out of this, but I have my stop prior bar lows right now. That, oh my gosh, Palantir. Oh, okay, Palantir.
Get it, Adara.
You know what? Maybe P-Pro 8, this was a good thing that you refused to let me sell anything here. So let's see. To be fair, I did get out 25% of the position. That was just because I wanted to offload some of it, so I set a stop here that I figured would fill for 25% of it. But I'm going to save the last piece until we get to that. Just above 37s, that'd be a dope look. Let's see. Right now, the stop is at 36.82, but the fun doesn't stop yet. Netflix. Wait, Netflix. I meant to say Tesla. I just said Netflix and I said Tesla. Wait, I don't even know what I'm saying. Excuse me, Tesla. Still seeing higher lows. 252, great level of support. That's the level I'd be watching tomorrow. Now, I know I've already said Tesla looked kind of head and shoulders-y and I regretted it. But again, I want to say inverse head and shoulders on Tesla. Now, is this an irregular pattern? Shout out to our lesson. Yes, it is. Ooh. Because we're up on the day. So Tesla, how can it have a reversal if we're up on the day? Maybe. But look at this head here, 251.50s. Look at these stubby little shoulders. This is like a very, this guy doesn't, he needs to stretch. His posture's not too good. Oh. Shoulder, 252. Shoulder, 252. Neckline to me, 253.15s. If we can break above the neckline, that's a good look for Tesla. Jaspreet Singh wants me to check out GameStop. So
yeah, so does Michelle Hebert.
GameStop.
High day.
Yeah, oh, is it now?
It is.
Oh, wow. Sorry for that sound. Wow, GameStop. Reversal. So we have all these rejections of the 90 EMA, then we start finding support off the 90 EMA that is a 9 exponential moving average. However, we get to 2260s. Then we get, is someone eating a hot dog? I keep smelling a hot dog, and it's like stressing me out. But we get this wick here into 2275s. Now we're kind of coming lower. Will this topping tail candle be the sign that game stopping tails? Oh. I pretend that. Will it be a topping tail candle? Will it be a game stopping tail candle? We'll find out. But I think if we hold up support at that 2250s, good look for me. How you doing?
64,000 incoming on Bitstonk. Here we go, baby. Oh, BTC. Yeah, I'll get it right, Adara. BTC crypto, that's the one we're trying to do there, not BTC, the ticker. There it is, 64,000, 63,978. I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek here of the watch list for the crypto. Look at this, almost everything in Greensville except Ethereum. Ethereum continues to lag behind BTC, even though it's got more practical uses. Market doesn't care about practical uses. It likes Bitcoin, and that's kind of what I see now. So 64,000 getting rejected. We did have a 64,000 attempt early this morning. Looks like it was trading during the Asian session or the European session there. 63,941 was what we did there. Getting right back into that level. Now we're below 63.9, we're at 63.8, so rejecting generally off 64,000, but I kept my eye on Mara. The Mara indicator, he hasn't been here this week, so haven't been able to ask him about what these miners have been doing, but Mara's up to 6 1/3, it's up 1.5%. It's still defending this area that I kind of feel that this $15 level has been a hot level here on Mara. And it goes back a while. Let me just show you the daily on this. Mara always takes a bit of a sec to load. I know we don't have much time left on the show, so if it does load before that, I'll show you. If it doesn't, then we'll have to do it next time. But $15 is generally a level on MARA. There it is. And this goes back a ways, baby. This goes back to December 23. We bounce again, January. We bounce again here in, what is that, April? And then even Black Monday in early August, we bounce. This is the only outlying event, the real outlying event. But look how it gets back quick as you like. Remember that 3-day rule or that 3-session rule, depending on what you're charting on? So 15, generally an area of support for MARA, but that we'll wax poetic about on a different day, Adara, because now it is time to send it over to the Big Boy Show where the Big Boy kahunas are hanging out. Send it over to Neil and Sean, baby.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Everybody, I feel like Ramin was like, "Oh my goodness, we're going right over." No, Sharif will mosey on his way up to the desk in a quick little second here. But Jensen stopped selling, or he's done selling. Wow, what a move to the upside on. Look, a lot of